Hello. Everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to the start of a week, another week. And you're very welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator stream, part 2 of our Gallic Wars series. And tonight, friends, we fly in the workhorse of aviation, the Cessna 172, as we fly from Torino up to Bern in Switzerland. Come here, it's going to be brilliant. We're going to learn all about the Romans as well. You know, great crack. So I hope your weekend was fantastic. I had a very productive weekend. Do you know, I tried to land a 747 into Saab. It didn't take long at all. In actual fact, I got it down in one go, right? Towards the end after many tries. But yes, we're all welcoming in now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, even good night, depending on where you are in the world. It is a cold, freezing Ireland. I am broadcasting this stream from, welcome to, with a man cave, with all this vagina then going on. I got me disco lights fixed. Great success. So I put one, yeah, no, this is important. I put one over there behind the gadget. You can see it on the back of the screen, look, right? And then I put another one over there. I've not one, but two. I have two disco lights in the cave of the Murph, and it's quite lovely. I like it very much. So, right, wait till I tell you what we're doing. It's going to be busy. And then we'll jump into the chat, say hello to everybody. And then we'll, you know, get your notebooks out. So, where's my notes? I'm going to need these. The Gallic Wars Part 2, the Helvetii, right? The first challenge for Caesar, crossing the Alps. So tonight, we delve into the conflict between Caesar and the Helvetii, a critical moment that set the stage for the subsequent Gallic campaign. The flight in the Cessna 172 over the regions, historically associated to the Helvetii and Caesar's legions, offers a unique perspective on this significant historical event. This part of the series not only provides an immersive flight experience, because the scenery is stunning, right? It's beautiful. But also a deep appreciation.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Someone's pressing buttons. Also a deep appreciation of the strategic and military complexities and genius of this period, right? It's in the mid 50s BC, right? 55 or something, in and around, right? That's roughly where we are. Anyway, this flight, we're going to mirror that of the Helvetii's intended migration. These lads wanted to move south, right? We'll learn all about them. And the flight plan we're following is kind of tracking them from the Roman perspective. And then the devil knows what's going to happen, right? So our route for tonight, let me bring up the gadget. Does your Navigraph make those sounds?
Hello there.
Hello there. We get into the chat now. So here we are on the ground at Torino Italia Airport, Lima India Mike Alpha. And from here, friends, we're going to ramble out to a place called Lyon Saint-Arbois Airport, Lima Foxtrot Lima Lima, before heading up to Geneva, Lima Sierra Golf Golf. Flying over the lake, we're going to ramble all the way up to Lima Sierra Zulu Bravo Bern. Beautiful little airport below there in Switzerland. It's looking pure palatial. It's looking fantastic. So flight time, roughly 2 hours. So we're going to be making tracks here fairly quick. But it's kind of even looking at the map, right? As we're gawking at said map. And I'll play some music for, you know, some dramatic sort of effect. Not terribly Roman, but it's fine. Sure, the Irish invented the Romans. Anyway, it's not important. This neck of the woods here, just to give us some context, right? Here's Italy. And in particular, here's Rome, right? And this neck of the woods, does anyone remember this side of the Alps, the Italian side of the Alps? Something Gaul, it was called. And then you had the far side of the Alps, something else Gaul, it was called. Can you remember? But they're moving me chair twice. So, you know, you can see where we're going to be flying over. Some serious mountainage here this evening, right? And Alpine, yes, or Cisalpine, CIS, Cisalpine Gaul. And we're going to ramble over to Transalpine Gaul. And this neck of the woods, we've covered this in a series before following Hannibal over the Alps and how treacherous it was. Caesar's moving legions upon legions across the Alps to see what the crack is on the far side. And then he gets in to see where these people are from and what the culture is all about. And then ultimately it leads to combat. So the Helvetii were a tribe. They were based somewhere in and around the regions of Geneva. They were a Swiss tribe, somewhere in and around here. And they were in massive numbers. Almost, well, it's estimated almost 350,000. More realistic is probably 150,000. Caesar wrote there's things happening. Caesar wrote, of course, the Gallic tribes. What are they called? The Galleries. The Gaul Gallery or something like that. Anyway, the Gallic Wars, the books. He wrote them, so history always favors the victor. So there were slight exaggerations here, there, and everywhere. So that's where they kind of came down from, right? So before we go too far, I better come in and say hello to everyone because you're all brilliant for coming in. Who's here? Look, Soaring AJ, welcome aboard. Super Typhon is here. Ranbog Mord, a very happy Monday. Balbro rambles in. Who be this? Mr. 26 Part 2, good to see you. Kozaki Flyer is here, welcome aboard. Willow, how much? Hello, hello. Ozymandias rambles in along with Fierce Wolf. Looking fierce and wolfy. As Strap21 jumps into the room. Kozaki Flyer, a simple Senatus Populusque Romanus, or SPQR. It's good to see you, man. David Bay rambles in along with Tarnished Mossman. Hello, my dudes. Vacuum is here, good to see you. Stick Figure jumps in. Wombat is here. It's Monday. It's already time for a beer. Yes, it is. We can feel the beer. Wait, we can taste the beer. We can smell the beer. Yeah. John Ray's good to see you. Happy Monday. Pilot Peely is in the chat. Welcome in, Pilot Peely. Canoe Head. Hail Caesar. Salad or drink. No judgment here. Canoe Head, good to see you. Bell Bro is in the house. Viper Strike rambles in. He says, good afternoon, Murph and Fireflies. I flew the Firefly Air Comanche across the Bahamas to Nassau today. Oh, yesterday. Jez, it sounds lovely. Gibbo Ireland has rumbled in. He says, jeez, it's either listen to bathroom innovation plans from the wife or listen to the Romans from Murph. Gibbo, what's the subject matter? It starts with S and it ends in ite. Rambog Mord, yes, just hurdle abuse of Gibbo. It's totally fine. He doesn't like Roman history. Well, it's not that he doesn't like it. Nor it's not that he doesn't appreciate it, he just doesn't care, right? But we've established that fact long ago. Sunjammer, good to see you. Night Zepp is in the house. AZ Blue Line, welcome in. Hemmingbird says, evening all. I had a bet with my sister that I could make a car out of spaghetti. You should have seen her face when I drove pasta. Okay, that was fusilli pun, but it's the way I tagliatelle it. Or tagliatelle them. What? Tagliatelle them. I can use that word, sure. That's just a fancy word for fancy spaghetti. Do you know? Very good, Hemmingbird. Welcome in. Black Ice Gabe. We have a Black Ice Gabe is in the chat. Good to see you. Who else? If I missed any alerts, lads, will you shout? Now, let me see. Sean Dale, welcome in again. Spitfire RAF 100 is here. Good to see you. Robert J56, welcome in. Larger Life is here. Hello, Larger Life. Muse fan bursts in the door. How he is, yous lunatics, yous. Happy Monday, if there is such a thing. There is now, because you're here, Muse. Now, let me see. Goblin Zeus, good evening. Martel, salve of Fireflies, indeed. Now, Captain Meowington's good to see you. We're catching up. No Undies McGee. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Super Typhon says, let's hope there won't be too much messing about because the Clip Lord was at his peak last Friday. Yes, friends, the hilarity and crack that followed our flight last Friday evening, when we ventured into Forza, and I really can't remember the last time I laughed as much. I may have taken Muse fan out of it, but it's all part of fun and games, do you know? Anyway, moving on swiftly. Let me see. Strutter, good to see you. Caharia, the lovely Caharia. She says, hail Julius Murpheus, Romanus est Domus. Well, thank you very much. It's great to see you. Welcome in. Now, let me see. Scorpio 49. Good evening, Murph and all in chat. It's been a while since I flew the Cessna 172. I probably need practice.
Can I get a refund?
No, Takeoff. There's no refunds. It's all grand. It's all grand. Iron Knob Airways is here watching us on YouTube. You're very welcome aboard. Good to see you, man. Shuffle Shoes shuffles in. Welcome aboard. Let me see. Nutty Slack, welcome in. Murph, Agricola, the Roman farmer's favourite soft drink. Agricola, I love it. Welcome in, man. Adam Control is here. He says, one of these Mondays, Murph is going to stream in a toga. That close from doing it tonight. I actually looked for, like, you know, the linen, the bed. It's a long story. But anyway, I don't have any, like, proper white ones. They wouldn't look the part. But I will, don't worry. Don't know how we're going to manage it, but it will. But good to see you, Adam. Hope you're feeling better. Dragon is in the house. Welcome in. Now, let me see. I've been saving that one up all week. Nutty, that's brilliant. Right, now, where are we at? We're over here. Ryan White, good to see you. Squawk Talk is in the house. You're very welcome aboard. Randy Godwin. Hello, Randy. Welcome in. Is the stream over yet? Says Gibbo. Alison Johnson. Hello, Alison. She burst in the door with a tier 3 subscription with the Lord living Alison, you absolute legend. Thank you very, very much indeed. That was legend, trying to be French to make it sound more romantic. Thank you very much indeed. The support you give is unbelievable. I thank you a lot. Now, where are we at? We're up here, look. Catbat9 is here. Good evening and Happy New Year, Murph. Nice cave, by the way. Murphy, maybe it needs a few extras, though. Like a kitchen. For the missus. Listen, Can't Battis and Can't Battis Catus. Right, do you know, it's fine. I was thinking, do you know those camping cookers? You know the gas, you know the ones I'm talking about? You know, they have like 2 little gas plates and you wire up the bit of gas and they come with a small little propane blue fellas, not the big yellow fellas, the small blue fella. What I'm thinking, right, hear me out now. If I were to build a patio and put one of the cookers on it and put a marquee over it, it would be an outside kitchen. Sometimes my genius even creates its own music. It just, right, I don't know what it is. But you're very welcome in. Mr. Dan is in the house. Welcome aboard. Husker Do, good to see you. Now, we're up here, look. Give the Romans a paper towel. Huh? Sterling, welcome in. Nightstep says, hang on, you can do better. St. Aubrey. Is it St. Aubrey? Or is it St. Place? It's in France. It's somewhere that sounds very nice, isn't it? Sterling, good day. It's good to see you, man. Guido. Is it Guido or Guido? Guido, good to see you. Guido is Adam's name. Adam Guido. Putting the pieces together. They should have starred me in that fucking film. What was it called? Dan Brown's Angels and Demons. Yeah, that's the one. You know the character that Tom Hanks plays? What was his name? Doctor something. It's based on my life. Basically, do you know, symbologist. That's what it is. Or is it a sympologist? Are you trying to say I'm simple? Moving on abruptly. Now, let me see. Real world weather is arid. Are you on a few clouds? I'm on a few clouds, yes. In actual fact, we're on Sublime by Acu Season. Yes. Now, I'm ready for the history lesson. Good man yourself, Randy. Cy120 is here. Gary Duggan, good to see you. Good morning from Sale in Victoria, Australia, home of the Royal Australian Air Force Roulettes. You're very welcome in. Hello from Tipperary, the home of cold and, you know, unfortunate news. Filthy, it's good to see you. Whack-a-mo jumps in. Boston is in the house. Boston Elf. He says, did Hannibal bring his elephants? We could follow his route. Do you know, we did it before. And Hannibal did bring some elephants. Not an awful lot made it, but we actually did the Hannibal series last year. And all the flight plans are still there if you want to check it out. Now, let me see. Grand Wazoo, welcome in. Only Just Panda, you're very welcome in. Jesus, lads, it's a busy night, isn't it? Renoir's here, good to see you. Shut up with you. That thing, she's always listening to me. Marco, you're very welcome aboard. Hope all as well. Jamie Paradox is here. Hello there. Very fast driver, that lad. God almighty. Now, let me see. We're catching up here somewhere. Kill Stachi, it looks like. Welcome in. You're very welcome aboard. The Blaze is in the house. Welcome in, man. Now, let me see. Harriet says, you want to sleep in the doghouse? No. Shh. Robert Langdon. Yes, it was. Muse fan. Exuperi. Nicep says. Exuperi. Perry. Saint Exuperi. How do you say it fast? Gibbo says, Private Ryan, I'm just going to have some fun distracting Murph. Did you see the other movie of that? It wasn't Saving Private Ryan. It was. I won't get into it. Anyway, the wife has a bit. Oh no, wait. The wife. That's a bit mean. What are you talking about? Husker 2 says Denzel is going to play Hannibal in an upcoming Netflix movie. Can't wait for that. One of my favourite historical figures. Denzel is going to play Hannibal. That could be interesting. Now, let me see. It's snowing in the English Midlands. It's proper cold. Are you serious? Watching from work. That's our secret. Tell no one. If anyone walks around, you're on an important Zoom conference learning meeting thing. Right? It's very important. Very important. But yes. Who needs the CIA when you have Alexa? Right? Don't say that word. Although in my house, we call it something else. I can't say the word now because it'd be like, always listening. You said she's always listening to me doing things, and I said the wife. Out of context. Right, now, anyway, where was I? Oh, I was over here, look. Yes. We didn't leave, sure, we didn't leave. So we're on the ground here at Torino. So what we're going to do here, lads, well, there's a bit of notage. So let's start at the beginning. So pull up a chair, sit down now, get yourself comfortable, have a tasty beverage, and we'll start at the beginning, and then we're going to get our aircraft up and running as we depart this beautiful part of the world. So, the Gallic Wars series, the Helvetii, this is part 2, the first challenge, crossing the Alps. The Helvetii tribe, well, they were a Celtic tribe inhabiting the region of modern-day Switzerland. In 58 BC, under pressure from the Germanic tribes and seeking more fertile lands, they decided to migrate en masse to the southwestern Gaul region, which is modern-day France. So basically, a whole load of lads from Switzerland were getting a pain in their because of the Germans harassing them, and they said, right, we're out of here, let's go. Their planned migration route took them through Roman promises, posing a potential threat to Roman territories. This mass movement, involving not just warriors but entire communities, was a significant logistical endeavour. Gaius Julius Caesar, recently appointed governor of Cisalpine and Transalpine Gaul, we learned that last week, well, he saw the Helvetii's migration as both a threat and opportunity. It provided a pretext for military intervention, his casus belli, allowing him to demonstrate his military prowess and assert Roman authority and dominance in the region. So for tonight's flight, we're in the Cessna 172, high-wing, single-engine aircraft. It's chosen for its reliability and ease of handling, echoing that of the Romans' legions, their discipline and efficiency. The journey begins at Turin Air Airport in Italy, reminiscent of Caesar's base in Cisalpine Gaul. He was based actually fairly close to here. The flight proceeds to Lyon Saint Superi. I didn't learn. It's in France. That's pretty much near Caesar would have first encountered the Helvetii. Then it moves to Geneva in Switzerland, close to the Helvetii homeland. And then it concludes in Bern, symbolising the regions influenced by the Helvetii tribe. The flight covers scenic alpine terrains and the rolling countryside of Switzerland and France, offering a view similar to what the Roman legions and Helvetii may have experienced, especially when it comes to the landscape. Mountains, hills, some forests, lakes, rivers. I mean, it's all relative back then. Sure, the cities aren't and some of the towns aren't, but perhaps some of the, urban areas are. It'll be interesting, So, now, let me see. We're going over to here. So, the Roman legions. We have to figure out, well, what Caesar was doing. What were the Helvetians doing? Or the Helvetii doing, right? And then we're going to learn a little bit more about the composition and the structure of what the Romans were up to. And we're also going to learn a little bit about the Helvetii themselves. As you could have imagined, not an awful lot is left of these tribes. Spoiler alert, well, they're not there anymore, because there was a big battle. So we learned last week, we got a bit of kind of context about Julius Caesar, right? The man that was consul and his proconsulate retirement, if you want to call it that, was to take over the governorship of Cisalpine and Transalpine Gaul. Cisalpine literally means this side of the Alps, and Transalpine means the far side. Caesar was operating with 2 other men. This was known as the First Triumvirate. He was working with Crassus, the richest man in Rome, and he was working with Gnaeus Pompey, or later Pompey the Great, one of the best generals the Roman Republic has ever seen. So between the 3 of these guys, they were acting as oligarchies. They were running effectively how the entire Republic was doing its business. And they had such sway over the Senate, well, no one could really challenge them. Do you know? So this movement tonight, this was the enabling factor. This is what gave Caesar, the green card to go in there and cause havoc throughout this entire region. And when we talk about Gaul, it's pretty much all of France, except for the very south, because that was pretty much under Roman control, because they had their walkway from Italy into Spain. And it went all the way up as far as, parts of Belgium. The River Rhine was essentially and effectively the border, and it remained that forevermore, right? So it's a huge, huge area. So what we're going to do, we're going to get our aircraft up and running, and we're going to start this flight as we depart here out of Torino, right? And well, as you can see, the Cessna 172. I've a couple of hours in the real world aircraft of this. It's a stunning machine. It is, if you've learned to fly, you know, if your first flight lessons were on the Cessna 172, you'll always have this in a very kind of warm regard, because its simplicity, durability, and usually reliability. It's a great little kite to go flying in. Do you know, when you're learning how to fly, especially. And a lot of people kind of keep these for their own, you know, general aviation traveling. This is their vehicle of choice. This is their aircraft of choice, because it's just really handy. Do you know? Long history of Cessna building these things. You know, the oldest one I flew in, I think, was in 1975 or 1976, a T model Cessna 172. And of course, the most recent one I flew had the upgraded Garmin G1000 built into it, which in the real world is super handy because, well, there's so much information in front of you. However, I'm an absolute sucker for the steam gauges. So we're flying tonight in the Cessna 172, the steam gauge variant, and it looks absolutely stunning. So we did a great job on this, right? So that's the plan. And now let me see, do we have sim sounds? We do. We kind of do. It's quite quiet. It's quite quiet. My choice of English tonight is powerful, lads. Powerful. Right, now we catch up with the chat because, you know, let me see. At first, the Romans even thought the people of Po Valley as Gauls. They did. B. Carlo was here. Good to see you. Thub, welcome in. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen 172? We should be happy tipping around at about 110 knots, give or take. The G1000 is a downgrade, in my honest opinion. Steam gauges for the win. I agree. Robix, yes. Lima India Mike Alpha. That's our starting airport for tonight. And we're live on the Southeast Asian server if you'd like to join in. Any pilot is welcome. Doesn't matter if you're new or you're experienced to flight simulation. We're all in this together. So come on for the crack. It's only brilliant, right? How come the weather is always crap in the Northern Hemisphere? It's where we live. So weather and time. So I'm using a bit of a mix here. Local time 0944. And the weather I'm using, it's called the Rex AccuSeason Summer Sublime. It's very pretty. It's part of the weather preset. If you don't have the presets, a few clouds will do, or scattered clouds. You know, there's no real wind, 2 or 3 knots. That's all, right? You have to try Lima for free. I think this is the one I'm at. This is freeware. I think it is. I could be terribly wrong. But anyway, let's have a look at our aircraft. So we're going to start off checking our weight and balance. So we have roughly just under 30 gallons. We're going to top up our fuel here. Let me see. About 50 gallons is kind of where I want to be at. Pilot and co-pilot will suffice. And yeah, we're looking good. So about 50 gallons of fuel on board, which is tickety-boo. So a couple of things we need to ensure before we get going. We're going to ensure that the parking brake is set, which it is. That our fuel shut-off valve, which is little red switch down here, that's pushed in. And our fuel tank selector is in the center. We want to draw from both tanks. Brilliant. So we're going to start off with the battery. Battery master switch engaged, and we're checking our volts and our amp meter as well. So you can see, if you ever needed to see this, see the old little amp meter down here. If it's below 0, it means it's discharging. When it goes above 0, it means it's charging. This is important because if you ever see that drop whilst you're in flight, it's a sure sign that your alternator has failed. All right. So we're going to turn on our beacon. And you'll see a small little draw on the amperage. The more lights and stuff you turn on, the faster the draw of that battery is going to be. So beacon light is on, our nav lights are on. We're going to make sure our mixture set full. We're going to open the throttle a little bit, and we're going to activate the fuel pump. Fuel pump is now running, and we're looking to see some fuel flow on this needle here. When we increase the throttle, you'll see the fuel flow lift, and then bring it back down again, and then fuel pump off. So we know we have sufficient fuel now in the lines of the aircraft. We don't need to work about carbs or chokes or any of that jazz. Everything's fairly modern in this aircraft. So next up, we're going to go for an engine start. We have our mag switches. We're going to go from right, left to both. We're going to check the area in and around the propeller, make sure there's no one walking by, otherwise they're in for a terrible show of flying mince. We say clear prop, and we go for a start. Watch the RPM. Want to keep it in and around 1,000. As soon as the engine started, we're looking for oil pressure and we're looking for oil temperature. Both of them will start rising. That's what we want, right? That's what we want. Now, we're still drawing power, so I'm going to turn on the alternator. If you guys can see, once I turn on the alternator, this should move above the 0. There we go. Battery, it's now recharging, and that's important. While we're sitting on the ground with our RPM in and around 1,000, we're going to lean out some of this mixture. Otherwise, we have too much fuel hitting the spark plugs, we're going to flood them, they're going to become just kind of knackered and we won't get the performance when we need it. That's important. So by reducing the mixture, you're putting less fuel into the mix, it's more air, it's just a cleaner burn as we're idling, right? Higher revs, more fuel, you'll be fine. Hey, Aviator's here, good to see you, man. First time joining your stream. I learned to fly in a little Cessna 152 and 172s, just like this. The memories. You're very welcome in, Aviate. Welcome in, dude. Energizer is here. Good to see you. Squawk Torque says, I kind of want to buy the Rex Weather add-ons, but I feel there's a chance it'll be included in Flight Sim 2024. Yes. There's every chance it will be. Drumma is here. Good to see you. Twisted Mexican, welcome aboard. Total Aviation. How are you, man? Hope you're keeping well. You're very welcome aboard, lads. Hope all is well. Right, as far as I know, the panel here is default to this livery, the Firefly Air livery. And if memory serves me, this was created, Jesus, I'm almost certain it was Kanzui or Cyrus. It was one of the two geniuses. One of the two geniuses. And we have this beautiful kind of texture on our main glare shield here. It looks rather nice. So, engines are all running. We can hear it. Great sounds in this. Hey, Santi, welcome in. So what we're going to do next, lads, we are going to turn on our avionics. And you'll see the draw now on the battery, even though the alternator is running. Avionics 1, avionics 2. Look at that. There's a huge draw. Exos, 5 months. Thank you very, very much indeed. Every man is sociable until a cow invades his garden. Happy Monday, man. And thank you very much indeed for the resub. Okay, so our Garmin avionics are warming up. These are the 530 and 430 units. They're actually fairly modern to have in a little old Cessna like this. So we're just going to wait for those to warm up. While we're here, we're going to reset our baro, your barometric pressure. You reset your altimeter to the current baro pressure. So it should be at 299.2, which it is. We'll double check. 299.2. You can check like local meters if you need to. If you want, for pure handiness, if you press the B key, bravo, B for Bravo.
Yeah, baby.
That'll automatically reset your baro. Your next little trick is your compass or your gyro. You need to reset your directional heading. And this is ran from a gyro, right? You have a phenomena in aircraft called gyro drift. Usually somewhere in the region of about 5 or 10 minutes, there's a natural drifting of your compass by almost 5 degrees. So as a pilot, you need to be able to constantly tweak it. And it's called zeroing. You would zero your magnetic compass. So that's currently on 24, 23, 22. So it's on 230 degrees. We'll have to put this guy to 230 degrees. It's now synced or zeroed with our magnetic compass. And as you're flying along, you have to you have to do that unless you're using digital stuff. Do you know what I mean? Right, now let me see. Is this the WB Sim version? Negative, Muse. This is out of the box. Standard. Robix has subscribed with a Twitch Prime. Thank you very, very much indeed, Robix. Very kind of you, dude. Now, we do have some interior lights here if you want to turn them on, brighten up the place for a little flight. We'll check the flap operation here now in a moment. Avionics, as I said, we'll just want to warm these units up. If you come down here, we have an autopilot unit. We're going to bring our altitude up. We're going to fly at roughly about 5,000 feet for today's flight, give or take. There's some altitude restrictions, especially getting over the Alps. We'll have to plan for that. So I'm just going to pop in 5,000, and then we're going to turn on our transponder. This is like a little device that's constantly sending and receiving information to air traffic control, effectively, right? And we're given a unique...
Yeah, baby!
Jesus! That scared the crap out of me. Cold Nebo, tier 1 for 28 months. They started a hype train, yous absolute mad lads. Up the yard. Thank you very much indeed. God almighty, I need to turn down those alerts. Level 1 hype train. Yous are too good and bad. I don't know what to call you, but thank you very much. Right? Brilliant. This transponder, they have a number of different codes. Some of the codes are set depending on your region. Most of the time ATC will give you a code if you're flying under their kind of, you know, control. Or otherwise we use some predefined squawk codes. This one is going to be VFR or Visual Flight Rules. So our code for here is 7000, right? Let me see. Grand Wazoo, thank you very much for the bits. Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. You guys are very kind.
Hello there.
Hello there. Right. Okay. Are we good to go? I think so. Next up, we have some cabin heating and stuff like that. Not too worried just yet. Now, so what we're going to do for our first leg, it's looking for satellites here, but we will put in a flight plan. So we're going to our flight plan, press the little cursor and move the gadget, and we should be able to enter in some information. So we're on the ground at Lima, India, Mike, Alpha. There we go. Enter. Enter. And our next one we're going to put in is going to be our first stop, Lima Foxtrot, Lima Lima. And we're going to be using the GPS here just to help us along. Enter and enter. Okay, sweet. Now, the next little trick we need to do is make sure that we're on GPS. So you press the CDI key, your course deviation indicator. That'll change it from nav mode to GPS mode. Effectively your nav to GPS. You can do it from the unit here, or you can do it from the small little button up on top. If you were flying by nav mode, that means you're going to be using, more than likely, VOR, ADF or NDB navigation. You're going to be using the older ways of navigating, which is using radio signals from radio stations located around the world. There are many hundreds of thousands of them. Do you know? Corn Wolf, it's good to see you. Now, it is acquiring satellites. This is all simulated by Working Title, by the way.
It's been 84 years.
Listen, it's grand. It's totally fine. Who pressed that one? Right. Just testing. We're about to go now. Right, so our satellites are now loaded. Thanks be to Jesus. And if we zoom out here in our little gadget.
Baby.
We can see the route, right? Who pressed that? Hummingbird, you absolute mad person. She's after gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Jesus. Did you see what she did?
Yeah, baby.
Thank you very, very much indeed, Hummingbird. You absolute ledge. 5 gifted tier 1 subs. That's 5 people receiving a free gifted subscription to the channel, allowing you...
Yeah, baby.
Thank you very much. It gives you access to our members channel on Discord, where we do giveaways from time to time. It gives you all the emoticons or emojis or, you know, emotions. You know, it gives you emotions. And
yeah, baby.
and a very fancy little label beside your name. So if you just received a gifted tier 1 sub, do be sure to say thank you.
Can I get a refund?
No, shag off, there's no refunds. That's it. All sales are final.
Yeah, baby.
Right. So, that's how that works. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, there's another little system we can show you on this. There's actually NDS or ADSB on this by way of showing you if there's aircraft close to you, right? And we can turn all this stuff on if we want to. Where is it now? It's in here, I think. SBAS, no. Units, date and time. How do we get into this again? Nearest, no. There was a way I did this before. She won't go back one. Nav. Here we go. This one here. See this ADS? This is your traffic. Other aircraft. And this actually works, right? So if you want to turn it on, just press in the button, rotate the divel, and push it in again. ADS is now set to on. And what this means, lads, right? ADS is now on. Hit enter. What this means is when other aircraft start appearing, it's going to see it. It's a little ADSB receiver, right? So it'll actually show all the other aircraft in our vicinity. We can turn this on or off. I'm going to turn it on for the moment, right? And while we're here, I'm going to turn on our multiplayer. Because I tend to start the stream with the multiplayer off just so I can go hide somewhere. Do you know? Because usually when I start, there's about 20 planes on top of me having one of those sort of moments. You know? Cold Nebo gifted a tier 1 sub to Twisted Mexican. A level 3 hype train on a Monday. Would you behave yourselves? Thank you very much indeed. Cheers, man. Right, so we can see things loading up here. A couple of aircraft are starting to appear. This should really only come alive when we're in the sky. Usually, right? It's unlikely we'll get something reading this close in. Unlikely. But once we get airborne, this will come alive, right? So if we bring this back to... Turn it on. Right, it's on standby. Turn it on. There we go. See the way it's showing you aircraft straight away? How cool is that? And if we zoom in, it's showing us one aircraft moving that way. Okay, we don't see them yet. And the numbers basically dictate the altitude. So that's our flight in there. We're on nav mode. Taxi light is going to come on now. There we go. Peter heat can come on because we need that. So we're going to park and brake off. And we're going to roll it forward. There we go. So we're just beside runway 28 right. We're going to use this for departure. Jesus, there's loads of people here. This is fantastic, look. It moves. It certainly does. So turn on a bit of a Toby eye head tracking or eye tracking here. It's absolutely incredible. I love it. So before we depart out of 28 right, we'll do a very quick run up, right? I see a twin Comanche there. Okay, so we're going to sit tight, park and brake is set, and we just want to do a very quick run up, okay? So to do this, mixture in, we're going to increase our RPM up to about 1800 and keep it stable. And then we're going to do what's called a mag check. We're going to drop the mags from boat to left. There's all stuff happening. There's a drop of about 100 RPM back to both. Now we're bringing it all the way over to the right. In this case, it's left. And there's a second drop. Now we'll make sure that our little governor is holding. She doesn't kick out. And we're good. Run up complete. And all we're doing there, we're just making sure that the magnetos are working. Because if they weren't, we would be in a lot of trouble. So our landing light and our strobe light comes on. Our transponder now goes to altitude reporting. Park and brake coming off. Edge our way forward here a bit. Trick of the trade, put your heading bug to your runway heading. So no matter what direction you're going, you'll always remember what direction the runway is facing. Yeah? So we'll have a quick look at this here now. Turn to the right. Get ourselves lined up. There's a queue of people ahead of us, but it's all totally fine. We're going to set for 1 notch of flaps. We're going to hold the brake. So our plan is we're going to take off and it's going to fly around to the left-hand side. Okay? Right. Are we ready, sports fans? So, quick check. We're walking, we're talking, and we're squawking. Let's go flying. Park and brake off. Power coming in. Let's go. Okay, takeoff power set. Airspeed alive. $40 knots. So many airplanes with us today, lads. This is awesome. 55, there's 60. Yep, see Daisy. He's back in the stick. Positive rate of climb. Climb is indicated. Quick check over the nose. Want to climb here at about 70 knots. Okay, past about 300 feet. Bit of a glitch here with the sim. It's thinking about doing a thing. Okay, flaps in. And then we need to start trimming the aircraft so we don't need to put as much force onto the shtick. You see? Citizen42 has subscribed. Thank you very much indeed, you legend. 34 months. We're at a level 5, lads. What's going on? Okay, so we're going to talk to our autopilot here now. He's going to help us out, right? So our autopilot, we're going to turn on the unit. We're going to go heading mode, right? And we're going to adjust our feet per minute vertical speed climb. And we want to climb up to 5,000 feet. So I've told it to climb at 1,000 feet per minute. We should maintain about 90, 95 knots, right? Toto, thank you for the cheering and the bits. Why aren't they working? There should be noises now. Thank you very, very much indeed. Lads, the generosity tonight is unbelievable. Level 5 hype train, 93%. Thank you very, very much indeed. He's a legend.
Behave.
Cole Nemo's at it again. He got us over the line. The level 6. Oh, Jesus, there's things happening. Who pressed that one? DeBlaze did a mad thing. We're going to need to get to about 10,000 with these mountains. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Jesus, did you just see what happened? DeBlaze gifted 10 tier 1 subs, look. The man's amazing. You shouldn't be doing that on a Monday.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, man. Cheers. Jesus, lads. 10 tier 1 subs. I nearly dropped my cup. Right. We need to turn here now as our speed is dropping, so we need to do 2 things.
Yeah,
1,
baby. Yeah.
we need to reduce our rate of climb. 2, we're going to change our heading. We're going to turn left to 180 degrees. Just for the moment, until we catch up everyone, right? And what we're going to do now...
baby. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you very, very much indeed. Lads, these are absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for all the support. You're so kind. Right, now, let's have a look. We're climbing here. Power's looking good. Lean out the mixture a teeny tiny bit. Look at the Jesus, look at the traffic. Look at the traffic on me thing, look. Jesus. Ah, that's brilliant. Brilliant. Zoom out there now. There's traffic all over the shop. Right, that's all brilliant. What we're going to do now, sports fans, well, if you're flying along with us, if you're on the Xbox, press 1. If you're on the PC, press 2. And if you're here in absolute flaming, I don't know what it is, because it's Monday, you press number 3. Yes. Hello, Fireflies. Welcome to the Flying Circus. We live stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 2000 Zulu time, right here. All right. So we have 33 in the PC, 3 on console. Thank you very, very much indeed, lads. Great to see so many people flying with us. Right, I'm going to do a couple of things because this is just like, it's going to naff out, right? So we'll go to our little traffic. Enter, yes. Go back. Traffic. Turn the devil off. Otherwise, it's going to be screaming at us, right? Nav. Range. There we go. Enter that. And there we go. And enter that. Okay, sweet. Okay, lads, another left turn coming up. All the way over to 360 degrees. We're going to get ourselves up to 5,000 feet. We're going to use that as our base for climbing. And we'll add to that in a couple of moments. Remember, the higher we get, we got to lean out some of this mixture. We can monitor the mixture by looking at either exhaust gas temperature, or failing that, just keep an eye on your RPM. So our exhaust gas temperature is over here beside our fuel flow. So I'm going to bring this little needle up a bit because I need to find where it peaks. which I reckon is going to be roughly here. But we'll keep an eye on that for the moment. At this altitude, we can get rid of the landing and taxi lights. We're GA, it's nice and clear, we have our strobes on, there's no mad weather hitting us just yet, so we're looking fairly okay. So we're now facing back towards the airport, just there ahead of us, and we will be making a left turn, and it's going to be heading to the northwest, right? Over to the northwest. Why am I getting pushed left so much? Could be the wind, could be the wind. So we're now leveling off, you can see that speed starting to climb, we're very close to 110 knots indicated. 5,000 feet's engaged, and you can see that EGT coming up a bit. So we're looking good. Fuel flow is dropping, EGT is rising, and we'll keep an eye on the RPM as well. Okay, now we pretty much have this on rental mode, but we need that for a moment because we have a lot of climbing to do. Gibbo reckons 14,000 feet.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Aviate says, Murph, are you going to Expo this year? I think so, yes. 90% certain I am. Airborne Rookie is here. It's good to see you. Stavarius, welcome in. You keep making left turns. Gibbo knows all about me left turns. Okay, so left turn. Let's go 270, which is west. Go west. And this will intercept this magenta line, right? And as we intercept the magenta line, we're going to turn on nav mode on our autopilot, and that will follow this magenta line all the way up. Now, also while we're doing that, we need to increase our altitude. So we're going to climb as high as we possibly can. We're going to aim for 14. It's armed, and our vertical speed, we're going to give it a very shallow climb at around 200 feet per minute. All the while, we need to monitor our fuel usage. So nav mode has been engaged, and see the way you have both heading and nav. Nav is armed, meaning once we intercept this magenta line, nav mode will take over, and that'll become our primary navigation source. So we'll keep watching this for the moment, and you'll see heading disappear and nav will be your main light. You can zoom in here to see how close we are from the magenta line. So far so good. Flight level 051, we need to go to 140. That'll definitely put the Cessna under a little bit of pressure, but we should be able to do it. I'm a Yank, we got left turns covered. I reversed my room for Expo, just got to sort of flight now. Nice. Oh, you reserved your room, brilliant. Climbing our level, we're climbing. Ailerons into wind, also known as the him. You're very welcome aboard, dude. Now, bearing in mind, I'm flying this gadget on rental power, which you would never do that. That's takeoff only or an emergency. Usually the Cessna is happy enough plodding along somewhere between 21 and 2300 RPM. But it's simulated. Totally fine. We don't need to worry about it, right? So we've a message here saying set your course to 288 degrees. We can do that, but I'm not overly worried. Heading looks good. We could go 288. But once we intercept the magenta line, nav mode takes over and we're good. How do you ride 6 white horses? That just sounds awkward. Jesus. Why in the world am I getting thrown around to the left like that? I have no idea, Mr. Dan. Do you have the weather turned on? Marco says, I have my room booked, my flight booked, and a Mustang convertible reserved. Nice, Marco. Clear skies, no weather. Check the wind though. There's always wind, even if it's clear. Okay, so it's given us about an hour to our first stop, which is roughly right. We've about 2 hours. 2 hours airtime. So we're still approaching this magenta line, but all should be well in the round. These are the mountains we need to get over. We're currently at 5,500 feet, holding 110 knots. And let's keep an eye on this EGT here as well. It's a little bit hot, isn't it? RPM will signal what we're doing. It's given a little bit of a drop. Get our mixture somewhat set here. Alright, we're okay for the moment. Continue to climb. We might, if we don't clear the entirety, we'll try and find a valley on the way in. Do you know what I mean? Hey, Serious Wolf is here. Good to see you. Live weather is beautiful, says Squawk Torque. Sweet. Now, there's all sorts of tricks of the trade that we can use. Look, here's turbulence. We just hit a bit of turbulence. There's all sorts of tricks of the trade we can use. For example, if there were winds blowing, well, depending on the directions, they can create an updraft or a downdraft on the mountain slopes, right? So if the wind was blowing from right to left, right, that means when the wind hits these mountains here on the left-hand side, as it goes up, well, the wind pushes up the mountain. Us as pilots can take advantage of that by keeping close-ish to the left side of that valley, because we know the wind will be hitting us and that's going to be pushing the aircraft up itself. It's free energy, do you know? So let's see how we're going here now. We're now on nav mode, so see the way that automatically changed? It's putting us now on the magenta line. Heading mode has been deactivated. We're on nav mode. It's going to fly us until it zeroes its position, and then I'm expecting a slight turn to the right, meaning it's going to put us over this direction, for which we have a lot of terrain in the way. So the initial altitude we need to clear here is probably 7,000 or 8,000 feet. So to counter that, we're going to go up a smidgen. We're going to climb at 500 feet per minute. Once our speed doesn't drop below 80 knots, we're more than safe. If we have to do extreme climbs, we don't want it dropping below 60. That's like danger zone. You're not going to make it. So let's see what happens. Here's our roll coming in now to the right. We're now pretty much bang on that magenta line. EGT is where I thought it was going to peak, which is fairly close. Fuel flow is a little bit high. Thank you for the follow, DJ. Welcome in, man. We can see that our battery is still recharging because we have plus ampage, yeah. Fuel pressure and temperature, they're all within the green. And it's a matter of monitoring your instruments. When you fly in VF4 conditions, 10% of your time is spent at your instruments, 90% of your time is looking outside. That's VF4, hence visual flight rules, yeah? IF4, or instrument flight rules, is the reversal. 10% outside, looking around. Usually there's nothing to see. You might try and get some sort of horizontal situational awareness, but 90% of your time is on your instruments. Do you know? Okay, so we can hear the engine making substantial noises here, and that's to do with our altitude. So EGT is dropping, but RPM is dropping as well. So we're going to play around with our mixture, where we can find maximum power. Regardless of your aircraft, every engine will have its peak performance areas. It'll perform at its best at a certain altitude. Once we're in and around 2500, that should maintain sufficient power to get us over what we're trying to get over. But you can see now that our speed has dropped almost 20 knots. It's huge. Struggling to get above 70, absolutely. What do I think about a motion platform? I think they look very, very good. They're definitely a massive immersion edition, if you like. Look at this scenery, lad. Would you look at the state of it? A motion platform, fantastic, right? Computer, what? No, Gibbo, no! That's beautiful looking. Now, the reason why we're getting kind of thrown around a bit, well, that's the bits of wind hitting off these mountains. This simulator simulates this in a very, very profound way, and it's awesome. So we're still climbing 90 knots. We'll keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on our engine RPM, right? But I think for the moment we should be okay. We should be okay. Famous last words, Murphy, right? We're passing 7,000 feet. Now, if we can't get the performance that we need, well, then we have to kind of think of plan B. Plan B is going to be circle around the valley. Visually, we're going to be looking for some sort of a gap. If you're flying this route in the real world, you're going to have it well mapped out. Do you know what I mean? Welsh, Lima, I've driven around that valley many times. It's beautiful. It's stunning. Aileron says, don't forget, when you're with your altitude, your stall speed increases. Your angle of attack will be the same. Correct. So even though you could be traveling at 70 knots, depending on the altitude, you could stall out on that. But we're all right-ish. Now, we've just dropped below 2,500 RPM. Need to fix this. So I'm leaning the mixture. And we're back up to about 25 RPM. 2,500. See that? Your mixture is your friend. The reason why your mixture has to be included, the higher you go, the less air or the less dense the air is up there. That means by reducing the amount of fuel going in versus the air, you're now increasing how much air goes into the engine, and it maintains a relatively good ratio. Hey, Zybok is here. It's good to see you. Let me see. Flopsy, thank you for the follow. All is going well. Your turn coordinator, by the way, this is known as your turn and slip coordinator. The little ball, think that's your spirit level. If that's going left or right, usually your rudder is out of alignment. It could be too much trim, right? And then your turn, your wings, well, that little airplane is just replicating what your aircraft is doing. Turn and slip coordinator. Every aircraft has one. They might look a little bit different, but they all have one. Right, visually we can see sweet lamma jays, there's mountains all around us. I do have heading mode and the needle where I need to point it if things go terribly wrong. So I'm getting a little bit close to that. So I'm going to dive into heading mode. It's going to turn our aircraft slightly left, which is okay. As we continue to climb here, and we're just where Coco Fennell is, just a little bit ahead of us. We're going to follow Coco and then slight turn to the right. But again, I need to assess, am I going to be able to climb that much straight away? Unlikely. So what do we need to do? As pilots, we need to navigate. So, Navigraph. We're approaching this region here, okay? So, there is a valley. See the river and the road? There 100% is a valley. I'm approaching this mountain here. I'm going to use a landmark. There should be a lake. If I know when I'm at the lake that I can't make it over the next mountain, I will follow this valley in here. Because there is a road and a river, it looks like, in this valley. So we're going to do that. So that's what my map says. Let's look outside the airplane visually. Well, what are we looking at? We can't really see it from this vantage point. Can't get any higher in my seat. That's not looking too good in there, is it? No. So let's adjust our course. Turn us left. Let us not venture in there because we're right on the limit with our speed. Right on the limit. What can we do in our mixture? Not a whole lot. Okay. We're clear of any immediate obstacles. Stop the climb. Allow the aircraft pick up a bit of speed. We're back up to 70 knots. We were right in the limit there. Small little left turn. The Lord reckons he can get me out of this mess, lads, but he's pretty sure you're in trouble. Now, PC21, no problem. Coco's Junkers, maybe a problem. So we're going to ramble around this side. And what I'm trying to do is pick up the valley and pick up where that lake is. So my understanding, here's the river down here to my left-hand side. Over this mountain here, just on the far side, we should see a lake. And then we're going to turn in to the right-hand side. Pitch your nose down to maintain straight and level. Yeah, but we're using autopilot, so you have two ways of doing it. You can change your vertical speed to 0. Sometimes that works better than altitude hold in the real world. I found altitude hold tends to provide a more bumpier flight. However, vertical speed mode, and you're liable to, or you're welcome to challenge me on that. Putting it on vertical speed mode rather than altitude hold mode, depending on the circumstances, can actually be a more pleasant flight, especially in turbulent air. So we can see we have a gap appearing here on our right hand side, so we're just going to follow over this area. Jeez, look at the road down there. Look, that looks incredible. That looks beautiful down there. Look at the bridge and the, we can't see it now, the nose will dip. Look, you'll see it. Look at that. So we will be following this over to the right hand side, and you can see the terrain already. It's less challenging than what we have to deal with right now. There's the lake we're looking for, so we're going to use that lake. Can't get over the mountain. That's why you go around the mountain. We're doing all right, lads. Bush Blamos in a chopper, nice. So depending on your aircraft, you should be absolutely fine. A couple of people are following me. We find ourselves in the same headache. An Edge 540, no worries at all. So we're going to start now a right-hand turn over this way. We can see where that lake is, all right? And looking at our map, we know that there's going to be a valley off to the left-hand side. Now, remember what I told you, depending on where the wind is blowing, if it's pushing us along, well, we can use that to our advantage and get some free energy to climb. For the moment, let's just turn right here. We want to go over the lake, and then we're going to go around the next batch of mountains. Mountain flying it's so fun, but it's extremely dangerous. You really have to have everything planned out to the last, and your ditching options tend to be limited because there's very little flat terrain around here. Even though you think, sure, it's grand, I'll just park it over there. Not as simple as that. Okay, so we're looking good. Here's the lake, and we should have a little offshoot here to the left hand side. Let's go back and monitor all our temperatures and pressures. We're looking good here. RPM, maximum power, we're looking good. And the airplane is just kind of bobbling and weaving along. We're in heading mode. Always keep your heading bug zeroed to the direction that you're flying. Because if your nav mode, if you need to jump off your nav mode and go straight to heading mode, flick of a switch. You're not spending a few moments turning the heading bug, it's pointing. And if you ever did have an issue, if you had a GPS failure, but at least you know that your aircraft will be pointing your last known course. So these are small little things you'd be doing. Not only in the sim, you did this in the real world as well. Now, let's ramble in this way. So, shall we go on? Events leading up to our arrival, right? So, where is it now? Caesar's initial preparations. The strategic positioning in Gaul. As governor of Cisalpine and Transalpine Gaul, Caesar was strategically positioned to respond to the movements of the Helvetii. He began gathering his legions, calling up both his existing
this baby
troops.
hits 88 miles per hour. You're gonna see some serious shit.
He called up his existing troops, and he also called up additional forces from the surrounding regions. Mercenaries, that's what Caesar did. Caesar also focused on collecting information about the Helvetii's intentions and the logistics of their planned migrations. So Caesar got word that the Helvetii tribe were moving. They wanted to, pick out new lands on the south of France, southern Gaul. By doing so, they had to enter Roman territory. Caesar saw this as a threat because, well, there's a lot of mouths to feed, but also as opportunity. You're not allowed to enter, right? The Helvetii, influenced by the pressures from Germanic tribes and a desire for more fertile lands, they decided to migrate towards the Roman province of Gaul. Now, the Germanic tribes, who were constantly kind of pushing and expanding their own regions, well, the Helvetii, based in and around, Geneva, they were in their way. So the Helvetii, they were well experienced, if you like, dealing with these Germanic tribes, fighting, right? They were warriors, but they were getting kind of tired of it. They're like, Jesus, can we just forget about all this, and move on? So that's what they did. They said, right, we're going to move on. So the migration was not a hasty retreat, but a well-planned movement involving the entire Helvetii population, including with some of their allies. And it wasn't a case that they just said, right, we're going to, I need to turn left here, we're going to just pack up our troubles and leave. They burnt down all of their cities, well, their towns and their villages. And the reason being is, well, they did that for two reasons. Number one, they didn't want there to be resupply for the Germanic tribes. And number two, their own people couldn't retreat or couldn't leave because literally there was no home to go to. They were so committed on this migration. You're going, lads, and that's the friggin' end of it, right? Madness. The Helvetii sent emissaries to Caesar, seeking permission to pass through Roman territories peacefully. Caesar, understanding the potential threat of such a large migration, delayed his response, using the time to strengthen his forces and plan a strategic response. So, careful where you're flying, Murph. You need to find the little valley that we were looking for. There it is there. We're going to follow this valley. Don't mind me for a minute, lads. So the Helvetii came to Caesar and they're like, all right, Governor, listen, we want to kind of ramble around through these parts land here. And Caesar was like, yes. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you give me a few days to consider it and I'll let you know my answer next Tuesday. So the Helvetii said, well, that's fair enough, no bother. So they rambled back and they told the tribal leaders and they said, yeah, no, that Caesar fella, yeah, he seems all right. He told us to ramble back next Tuesday and we'll have our answer. Seems okay. This could be great. Not like he's going to build a massive wall or anything. This is brilliant. Next Tuesday, the Helvetii scouts came back to the Romans and they witnessed a giant wall. Massive. The Romans built a massive fortification that was a clear sign that the answer was no. Caesar's answer to the Helvetii was no. You're not doing it. And that's the end of it. Ah, Jesus, they said, right? Which was no good to anyone. So the Helvetii then said, right, we have an option. We can A, go kind of northern to other parts of Gaul, which would be dangerous because there's other tribes, we don't have allies out there. Or B, feck it, we'll go through Rome and suffer the consequences. We can guess what they did. So when we mentioned the Helvetii, we're saying, well, let's learn a little bit about them. They were a Celtic tribe residing in the region which is now modern-day Switzerland. They had a tribal society structured around warrior elites and druidic religious leaders. Their culture was rich in traditions, with a strong emphasis on warrior valour and honour. The Romans often said, other nations outside of Roman were barbarian, right? And if we think about, these sort of barbaric tribes, I imagine it's something like, think of what, the Europeans thought of like the Native Americans, the uncivilized people, these barbarians. Yeah, truth be told, they were very sophisticated. The Iraqi, for example, extremely sophisticated. They had government, they had, structure, they had culture, they had tradition, they had all of these things. But to the civilized world, no, they were just absolute mad lads, right? Estimates of the population size vary of the Helvetii. It's believed that the tribe, including warriors, their families, and other members, numbered somewhere around 300 to 350,000. Prior to the migration, the Helvetii did have interactions with Rome, mostly on a peaceful nature. They were not former allies, nor were they enemies, but they maintained a relationship that could be characterized as neutral or occasionally cooperative. The Helvetii were increasingly pressured by Germanic tribes, particularly the Suebi. These tribes were pushing into Helvetii territory, causing instability and threatening their way of life. The Helvetii also needed to find fertile lands. The pressure from the German tribes and the desire for a more prosperous living space pushed them to consider relocation. The migration was a strategic decision by the Helvetii leaders, and it wasn't a hasty retreat. It involved careful planning and was seen as a long-term solution. It would take them some 2 years to complete this migration. 2 years! Come on, we're packing up the whole shebang. 2 years later, that's when they would start new, or start afresh, right? The migration itself was a massive undertaking, involving not just the warriors, but also the entire community. Women, children, the elderly, animals, pack animals. It was massive. They used large numbers of mule carts and baggage trains to support their belongings. This caravan would have been extensive considering the size of the migrating population. Think about it. There was no trains or trucks or any of that jazz. There were mules. So they had to bring absolutely everything with them. All their resources, their treasury, all their food, medical, clothing, weaponry, everything had to go with them. So you can imagine just how big that, baggage train was going to be. It was going to be friggin' massive, right? So, the Helvetii and Rome. What were the Romans thinking about all of this? Well, half and half. The migration significantly altered the relationship between the Helvetii and Rome. What was previously a neutral stance quickly turned into a potential military confrontation. The movement of such a large group towards Roman territories was perceived as a threat by the Roman Senate and indeed Julius Caesar. The migration path was towards the Roman province of Gaul, presenting a direct challenge to Roman authority in the region. So what did Caesar do? Caesar's a friggin' genius, right? So Caesar knew, right, there's going to be conflict here. There's going to be a battle here because I've built this wall, they're not getting past, something's going to happen. So Caesar being Caesar, well, he went off and he had a chat and made contacts with other Gaul or Gallic tribes in the region because he was thinking about resupplying, right? As the Helvetii prepared their migration, Caesar was actively gathering intelligence about their movements and their intentions. He understood the strategic implications of a mass migration. Caesar also worked on strengthening alliances with local Gallic tribes, ensuring their support or neutrality in the impending conflict. Now, to impede the Helvetii's progress, Caesar built his wall. The wall served as both a defence structure and a means to control the movement of the Helvetii, which demonstrated Caesar's tactical ingenuity. Caesar's staff, it wasn't all just Caesar, albeit he was the leader. But Caesar's staff included experienced military tribunes, centurions, and other officers who were essential in the planning and execution of military operations. He also had a group of engineers, scouts, and messengers. In fact, some of the engineers that Caesar had were just on a level never before seen. These guys could build stuff rapidly, extensively, and extremely strong. Extremely strong, right? Hey, Keen Lafford is here. Good to see you. Motley, good to see you. The communication with his men. Caesar was known for his ability to communicate effectively with his troops. He often addressed the soldiers directly, using speeches to motivate and inform them. His ability to speak in a clear, concise, and inspiring manner was one of his key strengths. He used to eat with the troops. And he was a master of propaganda, if you want to call it that, but he was a master of leadership. Like Caesar would talk to his troops and, pay homage to, legionary, Johnny McGorry over there. Well, that wasn't his name, but you get it, right? He was a very brave man. I will fight with you. Like, he was great for kind of bolstering his troops, the morale. Caesar got all of this. He understood all of this. Think about it. Go back through his own past when we learned about, Caesar was faced in dire straits when he was kidnapped by pirates. You know what I mean? He just had that way of understanding how people could be. Pretty cool. Now, where are we at? The Roman structure. So we know we've Caesar, the kingpin. We know that he has tribunes and, there's other generals with him. There's centurions and so on and so forth. But now we have the overview of the legions. A Roman legion, the basic military unit of ancient Roman army in the Roman Republic and the Roman Empire. It was composed of heavy infantry and was key to Rome's military success. The names of the legions were often named after their founders or indeed provenance. Example, Legio Equestriae, founded by Julius Caesar, or by the numbers in the order of their creation. The 13th Legion, the 14th Legion, the 2nd Legion, and so on. A standard legion contained about 4,500 to 5,000 legionaries, which were Roman-sized or Roman citizen soldiers, and then you had auxiliaries, non-citizen troops providing infantry and cavalry support. The total strength could reach up to approximately 6,000 men. Then you had subunits. Each legion was divided into 10 cohorts. The first cohort being the largest and most prestigious, and each cohort was further divided into centuries, each led by a centurion. A century was typically composed of somewhere between 80 and 100 soldiers. A centurion today, it's kind of in your captain range of control. A centurion, right? Centurion, a controller or leader of that, right? Where are we going on my map? We're doing all right. We're still following this around here. We're doing mighty. We've added a few minutes, no doubt, but we're doing all right, lads. Look at this. So I'm going to ramble over to the right here a little bit. Are we enjoying the scenery so far? It's blooming beautiful as we scope around these mountain passes, look. We're doing okay. We're doing okay. The primary weapons. The Roman legionary were equipped with the gladius, a small stabbing sword, and also a pilum, a heavy javelin. Sometimes a pugio, which is a small dagger, and they also had protective armour. Anywhere from chainmail, which was lorica hamata. It was effectively a plated set of armour. Chainmail was more kind of associated to medieval times, but parts of the Roman armour had it, right? Scale armour, the lorcia squamata, They also carried large rectangular shields, the scutum, for protection. Soldiers were equipped with helmets, greaves for leg protection, and often carried a pack with personal belongings and tools for fortifications and camps. We learned last week about Marius and Sulla. Well, Marius, who we knew spent a lot of time redesigning the Roman fighting force, the military force. Instead of having Roman baggage trains, which were massive, Marius said, no, this doesn't work. The troops will carry their own equipment. They were given the nickname Marius's mules. And it was for this reason the soldier could now carry up to his own body weight of his own equipment. Food, clothing, weapons, armor. You can carry it all. And they did. And it was that sort of conditioning from a soldier. It made them extremely fit and extremely strong over time. This is 2,000 years ago they're at this crack. Do you know what I mean? What was it like for the soldier? Right? I mean, before all of this, a lot of the soldiers, it was their honor bound, to serve in the military. It wasn't a job per se. No. They had to serve because they were honor bound to serve. And the ranks usually followed the level of income or wealth that these guys had. I mean, if you had a horse, for example, if you were rich enough to own a horse, well, you would become an equestrian, or part of the equite neck of the woods. If you could afford your own sword, that's good enough for me. What if you couldn't afford anything? Well, you'd be a slinger. You'd literally be throwing stones at the enemy. Anything at all. That's the way the army was set up, or the legions were set up long before all of this. Under Marius's rule, it was a professional standing army. The soldiers were paid. Service led to great honour if they wanted it, but either way, it was a career. Join the army, see the world. And that's what a lot of them did. Countless hundreds of thousands of them, that's what they did. If they served in the army, that's how they bought their land. That's how they managed to feed themselves. A legionary's pay varied over time, right? During Caesar's era, it was about 225 denarii per year. Deductions were made for food, equipment, and other essentials. Now, if we were to say 225 denarii per year, if we were to put that into today's terms, denarii into today's money, but also base that on what it was like back then, it's somewhere in the region to $30,000 to $50,000 a year. You can kind of see the relevance. A soldier's pay at the moment in modern time versus what it was back then. It's still quite relevant. Kind of nuts, right? It was about 225 denarii per year. Now, there were other things. With war was a highly profitable industry for the Romans, especially when they won, because, well, they get to take all the booty, right? The winner takes all the booty. The winner takes all the stuff. So if you were part of a legion that had a battle and you just happened to, beat an enemy, maybe the general or, the emperor later on would say, very good, we're going to sack the town and your privilege are, you can loot the town for an entire day. Take what you wish. That made a lot of soldiers a lot of money. A lot of money. Some of them made an absolute fortune, right? Now, where are we at here now? Initially, the service length could vary, but by the 1st century BC, the standard term of service was 20 years, followed by a period of reserve duty. Veterans often received land or a monetary reward upon discharge. Gratuity, we have that today. Jesus!
It's been 84 years.
Gibbo, you're all right. Hang on in there. When you think about it, you look at any military service today, before you get a pension. I know in Ireland it used to be 21 years. I don't know what it's like in the UK. I don't know what it's like in the States. It's very similar to what these lads had to do. And then at the end of it, right? Jared Ferguson, thank you very much indeed for the Prime subscription. Cheers, man. I don't know why that thing is turned off. If you serve 20 years, you get your pension or some sort of gratuity towards the end of it. 35 years? Like, isn't it mad, isn't it? They were doing it back then. Absolutely crazy. And then you had a period of reserve duty after the fact if you ever had to be recalled. It's absolutely nuts. The Roman legions were known for their strict discipline. Punishments for disobedience or cowardice were severe. Could include beatings or, in extreme cases, decimation. That was killing 1 in every 10 men. Their training was rigorous and included physical fitness, weapons handling, and mock battles. Marching and the construction of camps were also essential parts of their training. The Roman legions were a formidable force, highly disciplined, well equipped, and trained to an exceptional standard. The structure of the legions, their weaponry, and the soldiers' commitment to service played a pivotal role in Rome's military success. The legionaries' lifestyle was challenging yet rewarding, with the promise of pay, land, and honour upon completion of service. Their effectiveness in battle and the ability to construct fortifications rapidly, and roads for that matter, were all significant factors in Rome's expansion and domination in the ancient world. You now compare the Roman fighting legionnaire to the Helvetii warrior. Vastly different. Vastly different. The Romans had the latest and greatest war technology, equipment, strategy. They had everything. And this was before Caesar's time. They already had this. I mean, they went through the Punic Wars. They've seen it all. Imagine a force that conditioned now stepping out into the wildlands of Gaul, into tribes. There is no significant kind of military stepladder. There's no real technology available to all these other tribes. It was a bit like, Blitzkrieg fighting against horses. That's the difference. It was just unbelievable in terms of how strong the Romans could be. And signs on. Like the battles that we're going to learn about in this series, more often than not, the Romans would be greatly outnumbered and yet still be victorious. Like, it's fascinating stuff, right? Where are we at now? Small little left turn, back onto nav mode, Murph. Yes. We're doing well now, lads. We're close-ish to our first stop. It's good to report. What time we're doing all right. There's Captain Mountains over there. Now, it's all well and good saying, right, we're going into battle, and we want to go into battle. But it's not as simple as that. You can have the best trained soldiers in the world. You can know your enemy inside and out. You can research them. You can do all sorts of investigation. You monitor them with scouts. You talk to other tribes. What are these people like? So on and so on and so on. That's all well and good. You want to have a fight. You want to, pick a fight with another civilization in someone else's soil. You need to think about resupply. So supply and resupply. These are defining factors of any engagement. As Julius Caesar prepared for his confrontations in Gaul, particularly with the Helvetii, his approach to supply and resupply was critical to the success of his military campaigns. Caesar's strategic planning for logistics was as crucial as his tactical maneuvers on the battlefield. His initial supply strategy, stockpiling resources, before the campaign season began. Let's think on that. Campaign season. The Romans and most of the world fought in seasons. It's war season. Huh? So they didn't fight in the depths of winter. Who in the name of Jesus are going to go out in the depth of winter? Sure, it's 9:15. I need to be by the fireplace. So they had war seasons. They'd have times of the year where this sort of crack would go on. Usually kind of springtime up until around late autumn or fall. That was the campaign season, usually, right? Caesar he focused on stockpiling essential resources. Now, essential resources back then, large quantities of grain, weapons, armor, and other military supplies. Grain was a huge thing in the Roman world. That was the food. That was the numero uno ingredient. Grain. They make the bread. They used olive oil on their bread. Olive oil had other uses as well. It went anywhere from bathing to eating to powering little lamps, an oil lamp so they can see in the dark. That's what they did. Grain was huge. And, Roman soldiers were sometimes paid, be it with grain or even with salt. That's the currency of the day back then because it was important. They needed it, right? He also established depots or supply depots in strategic locations throughout Gaul. These depots were carefully chosen for their accessibility to the troops and their security against enemy raids. So say, for example, now, we're Caesar, we're the Romans, and we ramble into a little town. And the little town, it's easy access, right? We can get in and out if we need to. And there's also an abundance of resources. Well, we have a choice. We can keep them friendly, or we just take over and control it. If you take over and control it, well, you're going to lose resources to protect it. If you have friendly relations with them and, you protect them, it's a lot easier. And that's what Caesar did. He made friends with a lot of small tribes and towns so that he could secure his supply lines. Bearing in mind, Caesar didn't want a massive supply train. He didn't want any of that. The baggage train? No. Lightning speed is what Caesar needed for movement. The Helvetii, well, not so much. They couldn't move next or near as fast as Caesar. Leveraging local resources. The local procurement. Caesar often procured supplies from local tribes, either through alliances or simply by requisition. This method reduced the need to transport supplies over long distances, and it ensured a steady flow of resources. Roman allies in Gaul were often required to contribute to Caesar's supply chain, providing food, fodder, and other materials necessary for the legions. Could you imagine if you were, imagine if Caesar knocked on your door, how are you? Give us a bit of grain there. And you just happened to have, 40,000 legions looking at you. You didn't have much of a choice, Now we'll pause there for a moment, because I haven't seen me chat properly in ages, and we'll go into our chat. Right, now, the Helvetii, like the font in the word. That's
Can I get a refund?
No, quiet. Cyber Tiger says, Murph, I have the Velocity 1 flight yoke of a small desk. Can you or someone in chat give me an idea of how I can set it up with a smaller desk? The Velocity 1 flight yoke, small desk, depending. I would offer him a salad. Good man, Kingsman. Hunting season. That's exactly what it is. A woman? Huh? Can see why 5,000 legionaries defeated 30,000 English with Boudica. Blessed are the Greeks. Jesus. 30 years max, yeah. That's nuts. Like, when it comes to... we can actually drop a bit of altitude here and pick up our speed again. This is fantastic. When it came to the size of the legions... And it was Marius who changed that size. He was the last person to change the size. They went from 3,000 to about 5,000, which is pretty cool, And the meek? I always said, blessed are the cheesemakers. Oh, they've had a terrible time. It's fascinating stuff. It's fascinating stuff. Like, when you look at how similar things are today to what they were 2,000 years ago, it's the same. It's the very same, right? And like, this is pretty much the first time it was done. Before all of this, it was a scorched earth policy, or it was massive baggage trains, and you didn't engage with other tribes. You couldn't speak their language. You just couldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? The Greeks, very different. Like, the Romans did things differently. The famous words, I came, I saw, I conquered, which they did. But they also assimilated. They assimilated people into the Roman way. No one ever done that before, and that's why they had an empire at its height of around 200 AD. From the fringe of Scotland to North Africa, from Portugal to Syria, like, massive, huge, and yet everyone in that sphere were Roman. They were Roman. Nuts, lads, absolutely nuts. Right, we're doing well. We're descending nicely down to 3,000 feet. It was huge. I used to be a good Roman centurion. Then I took an arrow to the knee. Jesus. When in Rome, indeed. Now, while we're here, right? I'll go back to the resupply here now in a moment. Roman legions were often numbered like Legio X, which is the 10th legion. Caesar's favourite, by the way. Imagine the confusion if a Roman had to quickly calculate the legion number in a high-pressure situation using Roman numerals. Could you do it? Is it Legio 25 or Legio 250? Think about it. The Helvetii tribe, when migrating, carried their belongings in large, cumbersome carts. Considering the Romans' penchant for efficiency and mobility, a Roman soldier may have humorously quipped, do they plan to bring their entire house and kitchen sink with them? Looking at these baggage carts. Imagine looking at them. Caesar's commentaries, the Gallic Wars, or the commentaries of the Gallic War. Caesar wrote, of course, these detailed commentaries which put himself in the third person, right? Imagine if that was done today. What would it look like today if you had someone doing this? Can you imagine the hashtags? Give us a couple of hashtags in the chat there now. Let's say, for example, they had Twitter back then, you know, and you happen to be Caesar. Give us a couple of hashtags there now. I'll give you one or two just to see what you can think, you know. Hashtag Gallic Wars. Hashtag wall building. Give us a couple of hashtags. Hashtag wall. Gibbo. Hashtag not listening. Ah! This is going to be hilarious. Hashtag Murph weeds everything. Oh, Jesus, we may give him that one, lads. Ooh! Hashtag Cliplord. Hashtag, are we nearly there yet? Hashtag Venny. Hashtag Vidi Vici. Get javelined. Hey, Eagle Airways is here. Good to see you. Hashtag chicken. What? Caesar by the Cessna. Hashtag Vinny who's Vinny. Hashtag touch and go or what? Jesus, lads, all the questions. We're going to... We'll touch and go here and land at Geneva. How's that for the plan? Shall we do that? Because we're okay on fuel. Hashtag, what have the Romans ever done for us? Hashtag Caesar undressing. Oh, Jesus. Way to bring the place down a notch. I was looking for, like, you know, accurate, real things. And what did we get?
Hello there.
Jimmy Page, thank you for the follow. What did we get? Hashtag the gall of it. Hashtag once the ram hits the wall. Hashtag romanage. Keen Leffert, I nearly said it. Eagle Airways having a lot of problems with stutters in Microsoft Flight Sim. Any suggestions, even multiplayer is off. Aaron, have a look at me video on how to remove stutters. You need to, oh, Jesus, you need to maybe delete your NVIDIA cache file. Shaders. Hashtag the testudo. There you go. There you go. See, you're doing it. Hashtag 22 says Squawk Torque. Oh no. Hashtag we deserve pensions too. Yes. Yes. That's what it, there you're getting it. What did Muse say? Do you find something reasonable when I mention my friend's wife's name? Oh no, what was it? Do you find something reasonable when I mention the name Biggest? What a movie. Hashtag Caesar was here. Funny you used to say that, Sterling. He actually had something like that. Land reform now. Yes, now you're talking. Hashtag 16. He has a wife, you know. Shall I throw him to the floor, sir? What, Centurion? Shall I throw him to the floor, sir? Yes, yes. Throw him to the floor. Why, it's a made-up name, sir. It's like Julius Toplius, or brilliant. Hashtag Willis Bayern. Willis Wadger. Centurion, do we have a Wadger? No, sir. What a movie. Incontinentia. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Brian, tidy your room. Need to watch that movie again. Look at the state of this. Look at this. Jesus, lads, where would you get it now? In a state of Jesus. Would you look at this? Hang on a second. We'll do, we'll have to do one of these, right? We'll have to do one of these. And, yes, yes, this works. Brian, and so is my wife. Brilliant. The sounds of this plane. We're using the Boris sound pack, by the way. Really, really good. Hey, P.S. Mirandai is here. Good to see you, man. You're very welcome in. Right, we're really close, so we're going to do a touch and go here at Lima Foxtrot Lima, right? Because our first stop is only a few more minutes up the track a little bit. So this neck of the woods, what we're looking at here, after we crossed the Alps, and even we had a challenge crossing the Alps, right? You can imagine what it was like for the legions. So the ground here, the terrain here, well, not as extreme, of course, as the Alps, but you can see by the makeup of the terrain, right? You can see where there's kind of hill regions, a couple of lakes. You have these little plateaus here on the ground as well. All highly important vantage points. If you were scouts or even cavalry, you'd be hiding cavalry behind the mountains. And next week, we focus on the Battle of Bibracte, and that's more to do with the strategy and tactics of Roman warfare, how the battle actually ensued. What we're doing here is looking at the region of where the Helvetii came from, and this is pretty much the start of their neck of the woods, right? You know, with a population somewhere in the region of 350,000, it was a substantial number considering it was a tribe, versus that of the Romans. The population in Rome alone was closer to 1 million people. It was just nuts, right? The other day I watched your video about setting NVIDIA filters. I implemented your suggestions. Outstanding. Simmer never looked good, or never looked better. Thank you. Marco, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, so the NVIDIA filters, I have them on here now at the moment. That's what we're getting, you know. Strategies and tactics of Roman warfare. Good lord, next week's stream will be boring. It won't be! Bibracte. Well, I've heard it said as Bibracte in other translations, funny enough, which I don't believe it is Bibracte. Do you know? Bibracte or Bibracte or Bibracte. Yeah, and I said, yeah, Bibracte. I was like, what the hell is that? Can't recommend his filters enough. Total game changer. Bob Licarty, right? Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. Hashtag, you're all individuals. We're all individuals. You don't need to follow anyone. We must collect shoes. We must worship the shoe. Follow me, non-believer, persecute. Right. Oh, what a movie. The Life of Brian. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. If you want to be in our group, you have to really hate the Romans. I do. Oh, yeah? How much? A lot. Right, you're in then. Brilliant. Oh. Have I put in the fuel yet? Huh? Yeah, we got plenty of fuel. Plenty of fuel. Right, here we are approaching this huge airport. It's massive. So as we approach, currently on autopilot, we'll take it out of autopilot and we're going to do a touch and go. Are we ready, friends? So it's going to be down to the left-hand side. If the sim doesn't stop, please recover. Uh-oh. Jesus. Autopilot coming off. Are we ready? Autopilot off. My aeroplane. And let us fly out to the left. Touch and goes here, lads. Great fun, I can tell you. Oh, the mixture. No, mixture's still good. 3,000 feet. Okay, speed coming back. Landing lights. Get them all on. Fuel pump. All right, let's see what we can do here, sports fans. It's a twitch and go. Yeah. Twitch and go. All right. Nice airport. This is pretty big, isn't it? Okay, let's ramble in. So we are halfway there. Time is actually almost spot on. This is going to be a touch and go. Our next stop is going to be at Lima Sierra Golf, Geneva. And then it's a quick hop then over to Bern. And we got a bit more to talk about in a few more moments. Okay, so speed is looking good, 90 knots. We'll keep meandering out here to the left a bit. It's beautiful scenery here. Like, you don't always need, you know, the huge mountains or valleys. Sometimes it's just pretty flying over kind of flat terrain, isn't it? Now, the sim is looking particularly nice, and that's powered by Rex AccuSeason, which makes a tremendous difference. Changes the colours of the trees and the terrain based on the season. Bern, not Bern, Bern. Bern in Switzerland. Okay, speed check, 100 knots. Bring it back a bit. Looking out the window. 1,500 feet. Start bringing that speed down. We'll go for 1 knot to flaps. They're flying over like an industrial complex. There we go, it's a little bit clearer. Okay, 80 to 70 knots here on approach. Very good Viper strike. Aegitus. Redius. Thingius. Okay, we got the runway in sight. Start to turn. Nice and gentle. So for a touch and go, we're going to plan that we're landing, as in we'll get ourselves set up as if we were landing, but as soon as we make contact with the runway, we're going to raise the flaps, apply some power, and then ramble back out again. So, mixture is full, 1 knot of flaps set, weight and balance is good, temperatures and pressures are good. Let's ramble in. $80 knots, so far so good. Very shallow descent. Keep an eye out for the trees. Now we can apply a 2nd knot to flaps here. That'll add to our drag. We will slow down. It'll also bring the nose up a little bit, so you have to counter that. There's the speed dropping. I haven't touched the power settings. That's dropped us now to 70 knots. There's more drag in the aircraft, making it technically heavier in the air. Just face planed the plane. Oh dear, QC Frank. It'll buff out, don't worry. Okay, 70 knots, we're looking good. This is a default airport, it's fine. It's a lovely part of the world, this, isn't it?
Hello there.
We have an aircraft just approaching the threshold. Menavos, thank you very much indeed for the follow. Good to see you. Crikey, there goes a Spitfire directly over our heads. It's Joe Plays. Okay, keep yourselves on the centre line. 70 knots is looking good. Rate of descent, no more than 500 feet per minute. Little bit of a crosswind. It's a huge runway. So easy as it does it. Coming on 60 knots. Here's our touchdown zone. Okay, start bringing the power out. Hold the nose. Hold the nose. Bleed off the speed. Wait for the stall horn. Hold the nose. There's a touch. Keep yourself in the straight and narrow, Murphy. Reapplying full power. Up 1 notch of flaps. There's 50. There's 55. Rotation. And we are go. A touch and go. Nice. Not too shabby. Okay. There's about 200 feet. Flaps in. There's 80 knots, 500 feet per minute. Very nice, strong climb out. Airport's behind us. All right. When you're chewing on life's gristle, down, Grumble, give a whistle. And this will have things turn out for the best. What a song. And if that doesn't get stuck in your head, I don't know what will. Okie dokie. So, heading mode. We're going to roll it over. Let's call it over to 050 degrees. 050. Autopilot on. Heading mode activated. Feet per minute. Climb at 8. 3,000 feet. Maintain. And let us continue on our merry little way. All right. Looking good, lads. Looking good. Okay, what do we say? 050. We're going to arm nav mode. Actually, LFLL. We need to change this in the air. So, let us go direct to. And we're going to go to Lima Sierra. Golf. Geneva, enter, activate, GPS, arm the nav mode engaged, take us straight into Geneva. I always think of them singing that at the Graham Chapman's funeral. Must have been a very touching sight. Did you ever see that? John Cleese was hilarious at Graham Chapman's funeral. He was friggin' hilarious. He was quite brilliant. Wait to hear this. Roman soldiers wore sandals called caligae, or caligae. While these were practical for long marches, could you imagine the blisters and the complaints? I conquered Gaul and I got these lousy sandals and aching feet. Could you imagine? The culinary contrast. Romans loved garum. It was some sort of fermented fish sauce. And while the Helvetii diet was more likely based on meat, a Roman soldier trying the Helvetii cuisine might have joked, it's not bad, but it could use a splash of garum. Garum, you say? A fermented fish sauce. Ah, Jesus! We don't want garum! Roman soldiers wore sandals similar to Crocs. I reckon now, if the Romans had Crocs, they'd still be around. Even though they technically kind of still are. But you know what I mean, right? Now, we're still climbing here at a rate of knots. We're going to say 4,000 into the gadget. Bing! 4,000, please. Arm. And continue our climb here around 700 feet. Up to 4,000 as we meander along here, lads. Look at this. So we're well on our way to Geneva. Now, Caesar also utilized Gaul's rivers for transporting supplies. He used the waterways, canals and stuff. Particularly for the heavier and bulkier materials, boats and barges were used to resupply his troops, taking advantage of the extensive network of navigable rivers. They'd use mules, not many horses, but they would have used mules and oxen and whatever other animal they can find. They would tow along the barge. How mad is that? Caesar's engineers also played a vital role in building and maintaining roads and bridges. The engineering corps ensued smooth logistics and quick movements of supplies. That was such as the build-up of, you know, Caesar's entire army, if you like. There's quite a collection of shoes at Hadrian's Wall. There is. Don't mention fish. My last encounter with fish ended up with rocket-propelled fluid evacuating from both ends. Oh, Jesus, Keen. Hold up one shoe and let the other be upon our foot. The urn. No, we must take off all our shoes. Brilliant. He also had scouts for reconnaissance. Scouts are employed to find the most efficient supply routes, to keep an eye on potential threats to their supply lines. Their intelligence was crucial during or for avoiding ambushes and ensuring the security of the supply chain. Caesar's supply strategy was adaptable. He was prepared to modify his plans based on the availability of resources, the movements of the enemy, and the changing of the seasons. He kept contingency reserves to deal with unexpected shortages or even emergencies. This foresight ensured that his army could sustain prolonged engagements or unforeseen circumstances. Now, why is my power gone back so much? Why are we still climbing? We had it now. What? We armed 4,000 feet, look. Back down to 4,000, please.
They've done studies, 60% of the time,
Here we go.
it works every time.
Every time. So what do you think? Do you kind of feel bad for the old poor Helvetii that they were going up now against, like, the biggest, baddest lads in town? Do you know? The poor old Helvetii. Murph, am I using the WB sim? Negative. That doesn't make any sense. Steve, you've watched the movie. That doesn't make any sense. Burns the nostrils in a good way. Brick, I'm going to be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline. Oh no, it wasn't Brick. What's his name? Fantana. Pity for the barbarians, as if. Right? But I think about it, an entire civilization having to migrate, and by doing so, they came up against the Romans. Caligula means little boots. It does. There was an emperor called Emperor Caligula, or Caligula. And he was nicknamed Little Boots. Like, at the time, if, any tribe that was hostile towards Rome, or any other Roman leader perhaps, any other proconsul or even a consul, they may have permitted this Helvetii migration. But don't forget, Caesar needed a reason for war. He wanted money and he wanted this military honor. He wanted the triumph. He wanted all these massive things. Internet is back and everything is working again. Brilliant! Well done, Scott! Did they find the problem? Thinking 4.5 would be better for you. Keep you out the trees. Okay. Get her up to 4.5, so. Caligula, not one of your better emperors, to say the least. Indeed, Sterling. You did. I've been meaning to talk to you about it. You may want to lay low for a while, because you're wanted for murder. Ultimately, 5.5 is safe. Probably. Well, we will be doing a stop into Geneva, so let's see how we go here for a little bit. Hold the gadget now, please. There we go. We'll fly roughly here. Michael Sheen played Caligula once. He was fantastic. Emperor. Yeah, so like, okay, let's kind of jump forward a few hundred years, right? So when we have Caesar, what he's doing now, and ultimately what would lead to the end of the Gallic Wars and the expansion of the Roman Republic, because remember, it was still a republic at this time. It's only after the Gallic campaigns that Caesar headed back to Rome, and he did the unthinkable, crossed the Rubicon, right? Alea acta est, the die has been cast. This was all still part of the Republic. The Empire came after that. And Caesar, not an emperor, he's not known as the first emperor, but he pretty much kind of set the pace for it. It was his adopted nephew, Octavian, who became the first emperor of Rome. And he was known as Caesar Augustus, Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus. He adopted the name later on. Caesar made him his son, adopted him as such. But, you know, when you look at all this region here now, modern day France, the number of different tribes you had, Caesar brought this entire region under Roman control. And it wasn't until way later on, even though Gaul was now brought into the Roman realms, and even parts of Britain at this stage as well, it wasn't until, was it 200 AD? Way later anyway, there was another emperor, Caracalla. And,
baby.
I think was it Emperor Caracalla? Yeah, Caracalla is his name, right? He was born in Lyon, in France, right? Who was this? Wimmus! Thank you very much indeed for 2 months, man. Cheers. Thank you very much indeed. Caracalla was an emperor of Rome. Caracalla, right? Roman emperor from 198 to 217. That's some 200 years more, 230 years after Julius Caesar. It wasn't until he decided that everyone within the Roman sphere could become Roman citizens. So although Caesar went on to conquer Gaul, the Gallic people were not formally recognized as Roman. They were allied, they were somewhat kind of subdued, but they weren't actually Romans.
Yeah, baby.
Right?
Yeah.
Jesus, did you just see what's after happening? Are you just pressing buttons tonight? Holy moly on a Chevy. Old veteran 965 has gifted 10.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
10 tier 1 subs. You absolute mad person, you. Jesus. Up the yard and all of that stuff. Thank you very, very much indeed, Scott. You absolute
baby.
gentleman.
Yeah.
Holy sweet llama, Jesus. Yeah, baby. You're happy. Internet. In the media area in the office started to the plug in the back. Only had a couple of missteps with everything. Finished much sooner than he thought. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Scott, thank you very, very much indeed for all your support. Dude, that's insane support. So Caracalla, famous devil. He wasn't liked, but he did make some very naff baths in Rome. The baths of Caracalla. Myself and Mr. Teuton were at them the last day. They're in ruin, of course, but there's a lot of mosaics still left on the grounds. Jesus! Dowler just subscribed with Twitch Prime. They've just started off another hype train. Another hype train! There are French comics about this. Asterix and Obelix.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
In the last village of Gaul, resisting to Caesar with a magic potion. No way! Dowler, thank you very much indeed. Infamy. They all haven't got it. It's grand. It's totally fine.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Bananas. Right, hotels are US. Oh wait, hotels are us. Inside joke. All the hype trains. Yeah, it's friggin' nuts. It's friggin' nuts. I thank you also very, very much indeed for the support. You are awesome and brilliant. We're on our way now to Geneva. This is fantastic, right? Hang on, we'll come over here to another table, look. Buttonsworth. Ah, sure, look, there we are. Did I turn my mic? I did. I turned my mic. Sweet lamb of Jesus, there's buttons happening. Oh, Rambog Mord just pressed a button. 5 gifted tier 1 subs. Ozzy Mandius gifted a tier 1 sub as well. Lads, will you behave yourselves, please? Look at the head in it, look. Yous are going nuts. Ganned crazy. Ganned nuts. Jesus.
Oh, behave.
What does this button do? Ah, yes. Here we are, flying along now. We can see the aircraft. We can see all the detail. Isn't it brilliant? Ah, it is brilliant. Did I get that new? Oh, I did. I got a new fake plant. It lives over there, look. It's a fake... I don't know what it is. It's like a cacti, but it's not. I shouldn't have said it was fake. It was real. Oh, and I have new lights here, look. Oh. I've even more lights to be connected and put into the thing with the yoke for the thing. I killed plastic plants. What's wrong? Oh, Jesus, don't knock over your new camera. Jesus. I have a camera there with a gimbal. I may have found a pair of croc headlights on Amazon. What? Dowler, thank you very much indeed for the bits. Dude, the support, lads. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much indeed. You're very, very kind to us. You got enough USBs for that? Oh yeah, oh god, yeah. Loads of USBs. We have all USBs. It's absolutely nuts here. Look, hang on, play a bit of, you know what I mean? Bit of tooch. As we continue to fly towards Geneva. Level 5 hype train, lads. These are nuts. We're going to need
Dreamy, sleepy,
5,500
nighty, snoozy, snooze.
We need 5,500 feet. I'm just saying. Up the yard. Hang on now. Right, now we're looking good. We're looking good now, lads. Now I get it. You're the one that bought all the USBs. Muttley has redeemed lightage. I told you, 5,500. You did, Ali, in fairness. It wouldn't be like... Yeah, Ali, you're the best for telling me the altitude I should be doing. Because usually I forget, or I don't follow you. And then I wonder why things go terribly wrong. Do you know what I mean? Remember, I know the heightage. Brilliant. What a keen effort too. I may have found a pair of Croc headlights on Amazon and I may have bought them. Croc headlights? Croc headlights? Oh wait, they're the lights that go in your Crocs, Keen, are they? Brilliant. Muse fans like, I'm not mad at you, I'm just very disappointed. Typical for reading everything air. Oh yes. Here's the news read by Murph Maximus Telepromics. Speaking of telepromics, I'm thinking of getting a teleprompter. Not that I'd need one, because I waffle all the time, and I think it'd look weird. Why is me lights doing that? Wait, look, see the way it goes very bright. Can't be having that, lads. Can't be having that. The scenery is absolutely gorgeous.
How soon can you land?
I can't tell.
You can tell me I'm a doctor.
No, I mean, I'm just not sure.
Or can't you take a guess?
Well, not for another 2 hours.
You can't take a guess for another 2 hours?
We all know how well you read, right? I will be final stopping at Geneva. I have a hurty back and hurt eyes. Ah, Ali, you poor old divil. London controller Jamie, me like he's flashing on and off. I don't know what the crack is. I've all disco lights and everything. Jamie, welcome in, my dude. Let's keep these subs rolling. Level 6. London controller, you mad divil. Check out all me fancy gear. It's very sophisticated, isn't it? Do you know? How did an agent like Murph manage it? I got some help. Boy, Gibbo. But Jamie, welcome in, man. Epic Fool is here.
Allow myself to introduce
Myself. Right. Jamie and his magic controller. Wait, what? His magic controller. Jesus. We're here in Rome, following the Romans, the Gallic Wars. Would you believe it? We're doing history. Jamie's going to Expo. You're all booked. Where are you staying? Did you get a hotel? It's the timing, right? Yeah, I'm 90% sure I'm going to Vegas. 90%. Jesus! Flying for fun, press the button and it's all happening now. I played that music already. Ah, yes. Flying for fun. Gifting 5 tier 1 subs to the community like a boss. Thank you very much.
That escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Old veteran, I'm Murphy's bag man. Mandalay Bay is gorgeous. I don't know, 90% sure he's going, 120% sure he'll be there in the doghouse. Oh, I'll definitely be in the doghouse. I can actually get flights, wait to hear this. I can get flights from Shannon to Chicago and then Chicago to Vegas. Shannon, lads. Flying out of Shannon. I think it's with United or Delta. I can't remember. I think it's United. Be grand. Totally grand. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's I have a feeling it's going to be why are me lights doing that stupid lights? It's going to be a big one. Try not this gadget now because my lights are freaking out. But then I have this one. Look, Goosh. This is called the back of me head cam, and you might be wondering what that is, right? So I went out. Come here now. I went out and I bought a bed for the cat. The cat bed, right? The cat. And she doesn't sit in it. Nope. It just stays there now. She doesn't use it. I've wasted money buying a gadget for the cat. We'll blast the cat. What do we do, lads? What do we do? But yeah, the Big Brother cam. Yeah. It's so we can see people coming in the door. So like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I once got hit with a frying pan live on stream. I'm just saying, like, the missus came in with a friggin'... Anyway, if you had put a box there, she'd have used it, wouldn't she? Get an empty box. Yeah, no, we know that. That's the still no new kitchen yet. What? Shh, quiet. Sweaty Pams, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Flogging on eBay. Yeah, new cat bed, hardly used. 15 miles. Thank you, Adam. A new bed for Murph while he says no to a new kitchen. I wouldn't fit in that thing. Are you mad? It'd be a freaking disaster. But yes, she didn't hit you. It was only a tip, you big baby. Hang on a second. You could hear the echo of the frying pan hitting me mallet head. By the way, when we were doing... Ah, jeez. Last Friday, that was a song, right? Last Friday night playing Forza, poor old Muse fan. He got a terrible doing. Oh, terrible doing. It was the funniest thing ever. Actual tears rolling down my face. Actual tears. I was in a hoop. It was brilliant. Oh, you got a tough draw in the next round of the cup. Uh-oh. The money could have been used for Mr. Two-Tone's kitchen. Shh. No. Did I cheat? No, I didn't cheat. In actual fact, I didn't do terribly well racing at all. I find I either had too much or not enough. It's one or the other to drink. It was great content. It was great racing. Do you know, poor Muse got rammed. He did. It was brilliant. It was hilarious. I loved it. You know, the only reason it was so loud when she hit your head, that was the echo from bouncing around the interior. I heard racing. Jamie Paradox was there as well. God almighty. He's a devil with the XR2, isn't he? Jamie Paradox, like, we're still trying to catch him. On a Friday night as well, at least we took him for dinner. Yeah, right. It was fun, Murphy and all other drivers. It was great fun. It was bloody funny, in fairness. It was hilarious, lads. It was just hilarious. I had tears rolling down my face. I couldn't control the car. I crashed from the laughing. We were driving 1980s Fiestas or something. Black Ice Cape says, Murph, I spent yesterday watching a TV program called Air Disasters about Turkish Airlines, which in hindsight wasn't the best idea, as I'm flying to Turkey this Sunday. Oh dear. Muse fan, tell me he wasn't cheating. Hang on, we have to watch this. This is freaking brilliant, right? This is excellent. Hang on a second. You have to see this. This is important, right? So if I bring up this, open me mixer. Mixer. Open volume mixer. Go. You have to see this, right? So we'll turn this divil down a bit, right? The sim, just for a moment, before we land, because you have to see this. If you haven't already seen it, we're going to watch it. Where is it now? This is ridiculous, right? Where is it now? Is this it? Is this? No, that's not it, Muse. No. Hang on a second. That's the wrong one. Another Muse clipping. No, that wasn't it. This is it. No. Hang on a second. No. This is brilliant.
Like that was... he's not it again.
Hang on, my own head is blocking it. Hang on, we'll do it again. Oh, brilliant.
Like that was... he's not it again. Seriously, guys, somebody clip that. Oh, no, he's off the track now. I'm delighted for you. I'm delighted for you.
Yeah. We're going the wrong way.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, karma, huh?
All right, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. It was hilarious, lads. Oh. Poor El Muse fan. The poor devil. He didn't see it coming now at all, do you know? He was already spinning out. No, he wasn't. I gave him a good old bash there, you know. Yeah. We're going the wrong way. Are we? Where's the air... No, hang on. Oh, there it is! Jesus, right. Don't panic. Autopilot off. Power coming back. All is well, lads. We've got this. Totally fine. Nothing to worry about. Right. Just some casual attempted murder. Blatant abandonmentism of cars, yeah. Geneva was where my Breitling DC-3 around the world recreation started. Oh, nice, Viper, nice. Alright, so we've pretty much cut the power here as we kind of circle. There's the airport ahead of us. I'm just going to kind of circle around here. What a beautiful part of the world as well. This airport for Geneva, I forget the developer. It's a payware airport. Okay, notch of flaps. That's going to help the drag, and then we can kind of descend this fairly lively. So we're going to slip. We're going to put the nose down, have a mad rate of descent, but keep the speed, or vertical speed, somewhat low. We don't go over 100 knots here. The Fiestas are so much fun. We'll have to do Fiestas again. I don't know will I get Forza in this Friday because I'm working on Saturday, but soon, lads. Forza is just ridiculous crack, like. Watch your speed. Now, let's see. Will you do a mini metro? The mini? Yeah, we'll have a look at the mini, sure. Sure. Red Wing, that's the one. It's okay, nothing special. Yeah, it's alright. Alright, here we go now. Man alive, the neck of the woods is stunning, isn't it? I'm gonna gawk around here as we're looking around. So there is photogrammetry here, which is always nice to see. Okay, add in a bit of power. Mixture's rich. Speed is looking good. Pretty nice, pretty nice. Okay, just keeping an eye out for the runway, which is over there. About 2,500 feet. Ramble in. You gotta love just exploring all these regions, like, you know what I mean? So, like, Geneva, this was the neck of the woods where the Helvetii were based. Follow the river in there. How far behind am I? Barely even see the airport on the map. You be grand, Mr. Dan. Stay true to the cause. You be grand. Jeez, we've got a good few people here. Awesome. Okay, we'll follow in the river. Speed is 80 knots. We've one notch of flap. Lights are on. This is pretty. My Xbox gamer tag is Hello Wall. I got it playing Forza 12 years ago. Hello Wall. Brilliant. The Wall of Champions. Look at this. This is pretty. Ah, you big idiot. You overshot the runway. It's totally fine, lads. Okay, speed 70 knots. Watch your descent here. All is well. So this is a full stop. Our first stop of the night, and it's we've only one other leg to do. It's 70 nautical miles away from here to Bern. Lima Sierra Zulu Bravo. Okay, 80 knots, one notch of flap. Shallow descent. It's a huge runway, so nothing to worry about. Okay, we've got second notch of flaps. We're on final. Easy does it. Jesus, the last time I was in Geneva, Skeptic Canton was ATC. She told me to turn left and I turned right. That's what we do. Little nav map calls Bern Belp. Oh, really? Okay, approaching the threshold. Easy, does it? I can see my touchdown zone. 70 knots, we're good. Okay. Power back. Hold the nose. Watch for the stall. Touchdown. 112 will take it. Small bit of power. Bring the flaps in. Small bit of manual braking. We'll get off here at the next exit. Imagine being in an airliner now and you saw all of us coming in with friggin' the GA. Wouldn't your heart be like broken? What are they doing? Fuel is still okay. We got 25 gallons, give or take. 30 gallons. Small bit of braking. I'm using the Boris sound pack for the Cessna 172. It's absolutely brilliant. It is what you hear in the real airplane. That's how good it is. There was a very old one, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, I think, but the newer one was Blazing Saddles. Blazing Saddles. He used to have the steadiest hands in the West. Oh yeah, what happened? I shoot with this one. Nobody move, or your man gets it. Do you remember? Brilliant. It's the Boris Studio sound pack for the Cessna 172. It's excellent. Right, so we're going to taxi on up here. As we're taxiing, we get rid of the landing lights, we get rid of the strobe lights. Keep our mixture a little bit lean. It's a huge airport here, so don't fall into the bit where we shouldn't. The original was simmering saddles. Really, was it? I'm very gullible, I'll believe that. Telegram from Mongo. Where'd you get that, Murph? Mutley, I think it's in the Marketplace store. I think it's in the Marketplace store. That was like extreme bumpage. You're alright, you're alright, you're alright. Jeez, there's people over here on the right. God almighty, lads. Hello, Wall. We are just about to depart for our final leg of tonight's flight. Time is 10:30 local, well, in Ireland, 22:30. It's about a 30-minute jaunt. Maybe a little bit less. 70 nautical miles is what we need to travel on a course of 052 degrees. Okay. So we're going to line up here on the right-hand side. Skipper Jeff, good to see you, man. Do you hear the sounds of this thing?
Captain, how soon can you land?
I can't tell.
You can tell me, I'm a doctor.
No, I mean, I'm just not sure.
Or can't you take a guess?
Well, not for another 2 hours.
You can't take a guess for another 2 hours?
The sounds are amazing. Like, the little Cessna does have that kind of a, you know, deep. Murph, I'll use the powers of the One Ring to purchase Firefly Air and rename it Caesar Air. Or Caesar. Okay, so getting ready for our next flight. Again, we're going to put our heading bug to the runway heading. Altitude for this leg, I don't think we need that special. We're going to be flying over the lake. It's going to get very pretty here. Okay, onto the active. Lights are on. Lots of flaps. We don't really need flaps. The runway here is massive, so we'll forget the flaps for this one. Mr. Rich. Okay, walking, talking, and squawking. Altitude, call to 4.5. Arm that. That's looking good. Runway heading. We're all set up to do our thing. Are we ready? Let's go. Takeoff power set. Speed live. So we're going to look to rotate at around 55 knots. There's 40. There's 50, 55. Oopsie daisy. And we're flying. Positive rate, and we're indicating. Alright. Left clear. Right clear. 80 knots on the climb out. Ideal. So, autopilot. Give us a bit of a hand here. We want heading mode. B speed, we're going to call it 800. And relax the body. So, over to our nav devices. We're going to go direct to, and we're going to put in Bern. Lima. Sierra. Zulu. Bravo. Switzerland, Balp or Bern. Enter, enter. Nav mode engaged. Right turn coming in. And we just ramble. Fantastic. Right, lads, we'll do another count while we're here. So, if you're still flying with us, if you're on the Xbox, press 1. If you're on the PC, press 2. And sure, listen, if it's all going terribly well, you press number 3. And sure, let's see what this one does. Oh, yes. Alison Johnson, you take care. We'll see you on the next one. At the state of this is stunning. Super Typhon reports 31 on PC, 2 on console. of this thing are just incredible, aren't they? Jesus, the Boris sound pack, lads. I mean, where would you get it? Do you know what I mean? Right, so where did we say we're going? 5,000? No, 4.5, please. Hold it there now. Thanks very much. And we continue on. So, Lake Geneva, look at this. Jeez. Look at these guys. Beautiful. Beautiful. Hey, Johnny Aardvark, good to see you. Lake Geneva has always been gorgeous and was awesome to fly over to conclude a round-the-world flight last November. Absolutely. Absolutely. It was fun watching. Wimmis, thank you very much indeed, dude. Have a very pleasant evening. Right, so we'll keep the camera there because it looks very nice and pretty. And let me see now. You can imagine that's the amount of friggin' notes I have, right? So far, I'm up to 10,600 words. That's terribly sad, isn't it? Right? Terribly sad. But sure, listen, we're getting there, right? We're getting there. So, where are we up here now? Let's just have a look. Let's just have a look. So, the strategic positioning, we've covered that. Caesar, as governor of Cisalpine and Transalpine Gaul, was strategically positioned to respond to the movements of the Helvetii. The Helvetii, a Gaulish or Gallic tribe based somewhere around this neck of the woods here, were migrating south towards southern France because they were constantly harassed by Germanic tribes and they were looking for more fertile lands. The journey was going to take them about 2 years, but to do so, they had to transit through Roman territory. This was seen as a threat by Rome, but as an opportunity by Caesar. So, they had planned it would take 2 years to move from A to B, and if they couldn't go through Rome, their only other option was going through unfriendly Gaul, other tribes, but they weren't going to risk it. And sure, back then, no one knew of Julius Caesar outside of Rome. I mean, who was this guy? He's just another Roman. Let's not worry about it. In 300 and odd BC, I think it was 333, Gaul sacked Rome. Just to put that into perspective, so they weren't really afraid of the Romans. I mean, who's afraid of the Roman, right? A bit of that. But anyway, Caesar began by raising, he brought his own legions, and he also called up more. He had about 5 legions coming in here. And a legion being somewhere in the region of 4,000 or 5,000, he had a force of somewhere between 25 and 30,000 troops at his disposal. He raised a lot more. His forces would, at one stage, almost double. Caesar also had to gather intelligence, focusing on the movements of the Helvetii, but then he had to plan the logistics, his supply and resupply, which you covered that as well. The diplomatic maneuvers followed when emissaries were sent to Caesar looking for permission to go through Roman territories, and after Caesar delayed the response, it gave him time to build a massive wall, which he did, and that was a clear sign to the Helvetii Rome had said no. So they said, sure, listen, we'll do it anyway. As the Helvetii began their journey, they moved towards the Roman province. The caravan, consisting of thousands of people and their belongings, was a significant undertaking. Caesar, in preparation for any confrontation, moved his troops to intercept the Helvetii. That's where it helped with the wall. Caesar was able to channel the movements of the Helvetii. He aimed to protect Roman territory and possibly use the situation to extend Roman influence. Caesar ordered the construction of fortifications, including a massive wall and ditch along the Saone River, aiming to control and impede the Helvetii's progress. Thank you for the follow, Mark. You're very welcome in. These are there were likely initial skirmishes as the Helvetii approached these fortifications, with Caesar was testing the strength and resolve of the Helvetii warriors. Next week, we focus on the battle that would ensue at Bibracate, right? And we're going to have a look at the strategies employed by the Romans. How they actually fought. What did they fight with? How did they fight? And like some of the comparisons from then to now, it's freaking unbelievable, right? Anyone who has where's my book? Anyone who has military experience, right? If you have a military background, well, you'll notice certain things. Any military will teach you this. Marching. The movement of troops or a body of troops in a smart uniform and soldier-like manner from A to B. That's why they march. It's not because it looks good, but it's how you move a body of troops, large number of troops, and you keep them uniformed. That's what you do marching. The Romans excelled at this because their pace was quite remarkable. The Romans could move up to nearly 80 miles a day, right? Now, I have a little book here that I want to say a very special thank you to Nightsep, because they sent me over a book which focuses on the Roman legionary versus the Gallic warrior. And this book, right, it goes through friggin' everything. Not only the equipment, uniform and everything that they had, right? As in it goes anywhere from like what a Roman centurion would wear, right? And I'll have pictures and stuff and all this we can look at next week, because this is really, really good. It goes from their armor. They also wore personal belongings on them, particularly centurions. The rank of centurion, they were important people. Usually look after between 80 and 100 men. And they would have their own family crests or logos or whatever on them, with their armor as well, which did include a kind of an early chainmail designed to stop, or at least slow, swords. Do you know? And the Helvetii, by the time Caesar took up his proconsulship or governor through a republic governed by the Senate, had been most significant power in the Mediterranean for well over a century. There was no formal policy of colonization, nor were there any conscious attempt to create an imperial realm, but the natural aggression of the Roman state, married to the overweening and ambition of Rome's leading sons, had seen most of the neighbouring lands fall under Roman sway. The Punic Wars were absolutely part of that Roman expansion. But as I said, like this book, it's just class because it dives deep into, just Roman friggin' strategy. The Gallic testudo at Alesia, that's way later on in the series. But, how the Romans behaved in combat. And when I'm talking about kind of riot training, whistle blasts, right? So think about it. If you were doing a battle, and they usually had 3 lines, right? Wait to see this. Now what are we doing, Murph? Paint, Murph, paint. Here we go. So what we'll show you here, right? Down you devil. That up there. Drawing with Murphy. So what you'd have, right? You'd have the Roman forces, so you'd have lines like this. They wouldn't be crooked, right? And, they'd be facing the enemy down here. Y'all see that? So how it would work, and like these would be 3 lines of legions, and then you'd have, cavalry, auxiliary, you'd probably put some veterans back here, you'd have other cavalry, other auxiliary, and these lads would be moving to do flanking positions and all this, right? Anyway, your 3 main ranks of your legions, legato or legio. Basically, the first line of troops, they'd go up and they'd bash the enemy for a good, 10 or 15 minutes, right? And then, because can we get a dot? Brushes. You get dots like this, right? And they would indicate the troops. On a whistle blast, what would happen? These guys would step out to their left and take 2 paces to the rear. Meanwhile, the next lads in the second rank, they would take 1 pace front and continue on the battle. The lads at the very back would take 1 pace up and they become the middle line. The idea here being you don't have one single line constantly in battle. You need to rest them. By doing so, you're resting your troops, they can reorg, take on water, repair, rearm, do whatever they need to do, but all the while you have a continuous assault line on the enemy. This was genius because, the enemies, they wouldn't have a freaking clue what's happening. They would just charge, head on, charge, get in there and bash them. So they'd be jaded, they'd be knackered, they'd be running and they'd be forced marching and all this sort of stuff. So the tactics that the Romans used, they're still used today when it comes to riot training. And anyone who's done military training, well, the crack with the whistle blasts. And sometimes it wouldn't be just step out and step forward. Other times the ranks would turn to their left, other ranks would turn to their right, allowing a single channel walk in between. And they used to do this to open the ranks, draw the enemy in, another whistle blast, they would turn the opposite way. You now have the front and the rear rank, box them in, and the middle rank kick the crap out of them. Genius, absolute genius stuff. But we'll take a little bit of a delve into some of this next week, because it is fierce interesting. And then all the while, Caesar usually is either here in reserve, the baggage train might be further back, or he's moving with his cavalry. Caesar, most of the time, moved with his cavalry. He was on a horse. So when all these poor enemy lads are driven in, they're all they're all dragged into this now, they've no more resupply. Caesar will come along with his cavalry, outflank them, and attack from the rear. It'd be utter destruction of an army. That's how the Romans like to do things. Now, if they weren't able to do something like that, the Romans had another great way of progressing, because they would build fortifications. They'd just lock themselves in. So if you had an enemy fortification, what Caesar liked to do, depending on the terrain, he'd like to build a massive fortification around it, meaning that the enemy could no longer move forward. This was blocked. They could only retreat. Now, there was a risk to that, meaning that they could in fact get resupply. Caesar, in his wisdom, would always post his cavalry on both wings, and they would be able to attack at the rear. Alesia was different, which would be the final episode of this series. But in some of the other battles, including that of Bibricat, you'll see when Caesar moved his cavalry around, he established new fortifications behind them, completely locking the enemy in. Like, there's some fascinating stuff here. And to think this is 2,000 years ago, long before friggin' gunpowder or any of that jazz, like, it's just mind-blowing. You know what I mean? So we're well into Switzerland now. Lake Geneva is behind us. And as we're moving up here, this is kind of showing us the extent of the region of the Helvetii. And even though we're flying in the air, we covered about, 260 nautical miles here tonight, flying in kind of direct movements. This pretty much follows Caesar's movements. And if he didn't directly go towards Bern himself, he sent troops there. Because, well, they didn't know that they burnt out their homes. They didn't know the Helvetii, completely scorched their own earth to migrate. Don't forget, they didn't want to give it to the Germanic tribes. Cavalry was almost all allies, not Roman, so they were dependent on allied forces. 100%. To be honest, the Chinese had gunpowder. They did. Here's one for you. The Chinese at the time may have had gunpowder, but they didn't have the wheel. Oh wait, they did. They had the wheelbarrow as well. Romans didn't have a wheelbarrow. That's mad, isn't it? So, like, when it comes to, hey, 845 Sim, good to see you, man. We're on the Southeast Asian server. Happy little army. Later it became standing, kneeling, and prone. Yeah, that's it. The Chinese, great bunch of lads. Like, when it comes to cavalry and what made up all these forces, legions were Romans, auxiliaries were not Roman citizens. Cavalries, Caesar had a great way with his troops. In particular, he brought with him some Numidian cavalry, Numidian horseback. These guys came from North Africa, who were just, like, these are the horsey people that were brilliant. But Caesar also took in a lot of support from allies. And some of the most famous and decisive battles that Caesar had, he only had cavalry with him, meaning he only had foreigners in his army, not actual Romans, and yet they stuck by him. Crazy. The stirrup was the real key. The stirrup was a huge breakthrough. Huge breakthrough. So the Irish invented the Chinese, right? Do you know? That's why you wanted allies. Yeah, 100%. It's mad when you think about it. And, like, lads, there was no rule book in play. There was no, how do we do this? There was no, we're going to establish further colonization. We're going to do all of these things. It just wasn't done before. Not on this scale, not in these lands. It was different with the Punic Wars. That was one collective, centralized nation, right? The Carthaginians. Gaul, you're dealing with many, many independent tribes. And it wasn't until the likes of Ariovistus and then later Vercingetorix, when they came into the scene, they combined, they joined all the tribes together to make a massive standing force, because that was the only way they could put the fight to the Romans. The other world powers at the time, the Parthians probably, kind of, Iraq, Iran, that neck of the woods, and through Syria, I suppose, and some of the Germanic tribes who worked very close together. You have a massive scenery spike ahead. Thought we got rid of them. I haven't seen any for a while. We'll keep a lookout though. It's such a beautiful location. The scenery here, it's just, go back 2,000 years. Okay, there would have been a lot more trees maybe, right? You wouldn't have had all these kind of villages and whatnot. But by and large, the lay of the land, from forested areas, lakes, valleys, much the same. Much the same. I haven't seen that spike yet, but we'll see what happens. Look at the state of this location. It's gorgeous. So we're close. We're very close. We are maybe 15, 20 miles out. How are we going on time? We're nearly there. About 10 minutes, I'd say. Probably more forest back then. Yeah, I'd say there'd be a lot more trees. Yeah. It's disappeared now? Sweet. And from each tribe that we come across, I mean, Helvetii, they were the first. The Suebi, the Veneti, the Britons, for that matter, the Belgae or the Belgicae, so many different tribes and nations, and it was Rome's dominance in this region over the next few hundred years dominated, and it created a lot of kind of the natural borders that we have even today. It's nuts. Would you not see the wood for the trees in those days? Probably any settlement here in that period would have been fortified to some extent. Yeah. Don't forget the Huns, of course. And anywhere then, when Rome eventually kind of, did a thing and broke away, it parted into two empires. I mean, Holy Roman on one side, the Byzantine on the other side. It's the idea of having different emperors for different parts of the empire, because it became so big to manage. Crazy. That was all foliage. I think southern Italy, however, would have been a lot greener then. I think much of the Mediterranean went through a semi-irreversible deforestation. How many shrubs make a forest? 3. But when you think of all the other nations and all the other famous generals that came after Julius Caesar, we had Alexander the Great. Don't forget about Alexander the Great. You had, what were they? What's his name? I'll think it now. Hang on. Leonidas, Sparta, right? Oh Jesus, what was the other fella's name? Achilles. All these names, right? Think about it. Caesar, Julius Caesar. The name Caesar went on, a Russian Tsar. The Russian Tsar. Tsar means Caesar, right? Kaiser means Caesar. It's amazing when you think about it. Such was the impact, And a nice salad, right? We missed a bridge by the lake. I don't believe you. Hammy, good to see you. Welcome in. Squawk Torque sees the spike. Ooh. Blind Fish is here. Good to see you. Welcome aboard. Would like to see you play Rome Total War series doing this narrative. I would bore the absolute socks off you. The Irish invented Caesar. Didn't know he's assassinated. Yeah. On the Ides of March, 23 fatal stab wounds. Well, 23 stab wounds. 23rd one was fatal. And legend has it, it was the last stab wound, number 23, was inflicted by Brutus. Hey, Prime, good to see you. Rome Total War campaign and battles are long. They can be. But like when you look at the, you know, it's when you look at everything after this fact, when you get into Empire, and like Rome established whatever 750 odd BC, and it kind of fizzled out then. Really, it started declining from around kind of 220, 250 BC or AD. That was at the largest extent of the Empire. After that, it started to kind of scroll back in. What was interesting and what's fascinating, the towns and cities on the extremities of the empire, and there's some great examples still surviving today, parts of Spain, parts of Syria, Tyre and Lebanon, all these places, and even in Britain, they were so much more efficient. There was less, what's the word I'm looking for? The brain isn't working. There was less messing and acting the Egypt going on with politics. Do you know what I mean? It was a better system. The further away you got from Rome, the better the Roman system worked, or the Pax Romanus. Not waste. Corruption. That's the word I'm looking for. And history has a terrible way of repeating itself. Like, it just does. If you were to look at the world today, and the way I would view the world is, I would look at the United States as our version of Rome. I just do, right? Constitutional republic. The culture is worldwide. We have been heavily culturalized by American culture, music, technology, clothing, the whole shebang, right? And you know, to some Americans, there's a lot of issues at home, but in other places, well, it's very, very strong. You know, it's pretty cool. It wasn't for no reason people allied with Rome. They could offer a lot, especially to tribal chiefs who wanted to retain power. 100% Squawk Torque. Some of the tribal chiefs saw this Caesar as, who's this guy? This guy could be good. And, you know, the longer and the more Caesar continued on this, he attracted more resistance, but also more allies. Because, put it this way, right? If I was in a tribe and the tribal leader happened to be someone I didn't like or I didn't agree with, well, I could leverage the help and assistance of Caesar to say, hey, listen, I'm going to sort out this mess. When this happens, will you put me in charge of these people? No problem. And that's what happened in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases that happened, you know? I say it all the time, Murph, says No Windies McGee. But it is interesting, you know? Love is good to see it. It's just very interesting how it all works. Like, you look at the monuments in Washington, for example. Look at Capitol Hill. Look at the design, the architecture. You know, there are similarities there. It's just very, very interesting. And even back then, right? You know, the Middle East or Asia Minor, Turkey and onwards, Syria, all that neck of the woods. You had the Parthians. They were then the only other nation that could actually stick to fight to Rome. Rome learned how to coexist with them because they just knew any sort of interaction with these lads wasn't going to end well. They just didn't want to put in that much effort. Not for the want of trying, they've tried several times. In fact, that's where our friend Crassus will meet his doom fighting against the Parthians in a few more years. It just wasn't meant to be. So it's kind of funny how history repeats itself in some ways. Man alive, would you look at this scenery though? Isn't it great to do this using a flight sim? Like, when you think about it, isn't it? Right? I mean, here we are exploring the lands from the air virtually that look exactly as they do in the real world. And we can utilize this flying together in a flight sim, that we all have our passions for aviation and, you know, flight simulation. And we can do this sort of stuff. And this really could only have been done with Microsoft Flight Sim. There's no other flight sim that I'm aware of that can allow you to do this level It's incredible. It really, really is incredible. And it may not be everyone's cup of tea, don't get me wrong. And just to put a warning out there, like I'm working on Napoleon stuff now for a future Monday night series. That's a couple of months. But I love history. You may have guessed, I love it. And I learn a ton of stuff for these Monday night series as well, right? I mean, I'd have a broadish kind of a, oh yeah, I heard that story before. But when I'm doing this stuff, I mean, I get to delve into some of the information. Often leaving me up till stupid o'clock at night, but I'm just fascinated by it, Larger Life says, am I using AccuSeason? Yes I am. We could rent planes and go in real world. We could, Bichelli. Very expensive though. You never would have known I liked history, right? History is greatness. It just is. Wouldn't want to walk it though. No. Eamon says, a fair few monuments in the West capital cities have many stolen from ancient cultures. They do. Like, you look at the Vatican, for example. Now, some might say, well, the Vatican stole them. Other might say, well, technically the Vatican protected them. And if you look at the formation of, the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican itself and the Pope is the Pontifex Maximus, a title once held by Julius Caesar. I mean, you can see the whole thing linking back, right? It's mad, lads. It's just mad. It's the live present, or it's the live preset, Larger Life. Yes, it is. Thank you for the follow, Ronan. You're very welcome in. The older I get, the more I think that people who don't like history are dullards. Larry. It's not for everyone, I'm trying to remember that it was Cicero once said, a person who neglects to think on the times before they were born will forever remain a child. Or words to that effect. The great orator Cicero said that. Powerful words. That's like Stoicism and all this sort of stuff, Beat the Jesus, we got to follow there. So why aren't there sounds? Should be sounds. Thank you for following Primitive SpongeBob. You're welcome in. Pontifex sounds like something you'd call someone. You're some Pontifex, you big idiot. Learn from history or you become history yourself. Indeed. Goblin Zeus says, I read books and watch videos a lot about history. Yep. All history. I love anything to do with history. There are some certain, obviously, periods in history that I, antiquity, Roman history, the Middle Ages, I didn't do an awful lot in there. That's why I'm interested to, well, he's not the latter part, Napoleon, the 1800s. And then obviously, recent history, be it the Second World War and all that kind of jazz. It's incredible. I prefer war history, a form of the world. Yeah. War history, and again, you have to kind of tread carefully there because if it's too recent, it's still quite raw with a lot of people. It just is. You know what I'm saying? Like the Second World War, where we're at now at the moment in Switzerland, the Swiss Army or the Swiss Air Force at the time during the war were flying Messerschmitts because they built them. Yep. And Switzerland, who wanted to remain neutral, they also had other aircraft. They had a mix of everything. Hey, Joey Bolo was here. Good to see you. Irish history is grim. Larry, it's actually not. Irish history, think about it. We go back to legend. Fionn McCool and all this, Cuchulainn and all this sort of jazz, right? But then start dragging it on a little bit. Flan Sinna, Clonmacnoise, all these places. And then you bring it up to when the Vikings came. Brian Boru. There's a lot of great stuff there from the Irish side. And the Irish side was pretty much Gaul on a much smaller scale. We were full of tribes. Yet each region, the families held the heads of the family, or in that case, the heads of state, anywhere from the Desmonds, Driscolls, Flynns, all of these lads. And, the High Kings of Ireland and all this sort of job. And then you wanted to have the absolute High King of Ireland. And there's a lot of interest in Irish history. We have overflown the airport, but fear not, we're going to double back and land. Yes. So, left a bit, Murph. Yes. We shall turn left and head back. Golden Age of Piracy series. The Finns flew Brewster Buffaloes. For being such a peaceful country, Switzerland was the first place that saw young people carrying around M4s because of compulsory military service, indeed. Love Irish history up until the 1800s, then it just gets confusing. Put it this way, and an awful lot of people wouldn't know this, but the Irish raided the British Isles, Britain, Wales, long before, British forces came into Ireland. The Irish were at it for hundreds of years prior to that. Hundreds of years. They'd have raiding parties and everything else. Then when the Vikings came down, then the crack started. And then there was all a big falling out. Everyone got drunk and had a sing-song, and then someone invited his cousin over, and then the crack started. Vikings raided and settled in Ireland, yeah. And that has to be some sort of a statement. The Vikings settled. Vikings never settle. They were marauding raiders. They don't settle. The Vikings found friggin' North America. They don't settle. They came to Ireland. We got them all heavily intoxicated. Then they settled. Ara, come into the parlour. You're great crack. Jesus, look at the horns in your hat. Sit down there now. You'll have a pint. And then that was the end of it. They were like, what? Who? What? Do you know? That's what happened. The Irish invented the Vikings. Indeed. I don't like the modern trend of people trying to erase history because it's not to their liking. We have to learn from the good and the bad. 84S Sim, I couldn't agree more. However, I also believe that if people are offended or take offense to something, they shouldn't be kind of, I won't say made fun of, they're not being made fun of, but they shouldn't be forced to experience something they don't want to. And I'm not trying to be very like, you know what I mean? I'm not that person. I'm just saying, if someone doesn't give a crap about it and they don't need to and they don't want to know about it, let them off. We don't care. You know what I mean? We shouldn't make it out that there's something wrong with them because they don't want to or they find offense to something. The world, it's a brave new world. It's in a feckin' hoof. For sure, listen, we're still here. That's the main thing. We're still here. The Belgians invented the Irish. We bought them copious amounts of alcohol. Hang on a second now. Listen, I love Belgium. I think the Belgians are a great bunch of lads. But ye made a terrible mistake. You gave the French a croissant and the French said it's theirs, but really it came from Belgium. The same with French fries. They came from Belgium. You know, always leans the bad and the good. Always leans the bad and good. Always learn the bad and good. Agreed. Thing is, history can't be erased. Agreed. Oh, 100% Husker Du. Wait, a croissant is Austrian. Sorry. What was French fries? Yeah. I love Family Man version of what happened in Irish history with whiskey. Yeah. It's just cool. And you don't need to do much with it. You just listen to it and it'll enlighten you. And when you see kind of how the world is going and things are happening, you can kind of draw comparisons. And it's like, well, hang on a second. Didn't that happen before? Or what's likely to happen again, perhaps? I don't know. Hey, Durga is here. Good to see you, man. We're doing well. I've been absolutely burning the ears off our televised studio audience for the last 3 hours. We're talking history tonight as we continue with our Gallic Wars stream, our series, part 2. We're about to do a landing here into Bern in Switzerland. And it's been a beautiful flight. The scenery has been incredible. So I hope you're keeping very well. Great to see you, man. Black Ice Gabe says, of course the Irish marauded everywhere. Sure. Where do you think the Scots and the Welsh came from? Well, you go back far enough. And like the Irish, I mean, it's a lot of stuff came out of Spain, seemingly. A bit came out of Greece. But that's when you go like ridiculously far back. Right, here we go. Little bit of wind here coming in. But we can also kind of laugh at some of the history as well. And that's what I like about it. You know, some of the beliefs and some of their traditions. We find it incredibly funny. Back then...
I'm in a glass case of emotion!
Back then, I'm sure people would have found it to be, you know, sacrilege. Easy. 93 will take it. But like, the Romans didn't like squeaking doors. If your door had a squeaky sound, it was haunted. Look at everyone parked up here. Ah, jeez, this is brilliant. And the Romans didn't like lefties either. If you were a lefty, you might as well just stay at home. You might as well just stay at home. Look at this, lads. Hang on a second. Yous are on both sides of the runway because yous are absolutely brilliant. Look at this. Get me camera right now. I'm going to do a bit of a drive past. Are we ready? Let's do it the thing with the yoke. Do not watch Napoleon movie from Ridley Scott. Historically wrong in many ways. Was it? I haven't seen it. It's on my list to see. Look at that Junkers. Isn't it beautiful? Look at the variety of airplanes we have. This is incredible, lads. Warbirds, jets, general aviation, twin, singles, modern. Man alive, what a great selection of airplanes. Twin Comanche. Look at that. We got Cessna 310s. A Junkers is there. Got Comanches, Pilatus, Cessna 207s, Piper Arrows, a Cherokee. A JMB is in there as well.
Hello there.
Absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. We got a P40 in there, it looks like. It's amazing. KG Dog, welcome in. I was so excited for Napoleon, but every history fan I know cursed the existence. Ah, Jesus, that means my left knee is haunted. From my reading so far of Napoleon, from what I've read based on some of the reviews of the movie, I think the movie is somewhat accurate. But what was he thinking with this movie? Oh, is it that bad? Jesus, Goblin Zeus. I mean, if you think it's not accurate, it's not going to be accurate. There's Psi 120 looking at Cessna 172 that I'm not going to crash into. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful turnout here, lads. And I thank you also very much indeed. As I said, it may not be for everyone, but like, well, some of us like it, right? Next week, we continue on, right? We continue on. I'll give you a quick briefing into next week, shall we? Shall we have a briefing about next week? Yes, I think so. So ramble up here, Murph, into all your notes. So, Jesus, where's this? 10,000 words. Terrible sad. So part 3 is going to be the Battle of what do we call it? Bibricat, right? Bibricat. The decisive victory overcoming the Helvetii. We're going to reenact the pivotal battle over Bibricat, or Bibricat, over modern-day France, a key victory for Caesar, as we check out the lush landscapes of the French countryside, reminiscent of the battlegrounds where Caesar proved his military mettle. We'll be flying from Bern over to Lima Sierra Golf Sierra, or Lima Sierra Golf Charlie, then over to Lima Fox Golf Juliet, and finally a full stop landing in Autun-Belouve Airport, Lima Foxtrot, Quebec, Lima Fox, Quebec Fox. We're going to be in a helicopter next week. We're taking out the Airbus H160 by High Performance Group, and total mileage not terribly big, but we're going to be flying choppers, and this should be fun. It's not a huge flight for next week, but with the chopper it should definitely make it challenging, and we'll see. We might throw in a bit of mad weather just to kind of, do you know what I mean, keep things fairly lively, do you know? But lads, I want to thank you all so very much indeed for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys fly along. Hope you're enjoying the series. You know, it's there's a lot of me talking. I talk to myself anyway. I do all the time. People, even Mrs. Two Tone tells me to shut up from time to time. But getting to share this with you guys, getting to experience this with you guys, it's incredible. It's just incredible, and I absolutely adore it. So thank you all so very much indeed for tuning in. We're back live once again this coming Wednesday from 8 o'clock, 2000 Zulu time. And I have, I was chatting to Seb. We're going to have Seb on chatting about that new Phenom that's just been released. And I know a lot of people are enjoying it. And I'm trying to find out what else. I've a couple of things in the, and we'll see how we go. Then on Friday night, we have a group flight flying in Florida, out to Miami, no less, in the Phenom 100. So it's a busy week of flying. So I think Ali will be streaming tomorrow night, Tube Liners, Antics and Tube Liners, or Antics and Airliners. And, well, between now and then, you will definitely catch us over on Discord. And I have a couple of YouTube videos coming out this week as well. Do be sure, if you watch the YouTube stuff, if you like it, do press the little like button. That's what helps the things grow. And when they grow, more people see them. When more people see them, sure, you know, it's great crack. I become a little celebrity, do you know? But until the next time, thank you all so very much indeed for the support tonight. Big shout out to our moderators, poor old Gibbo. At some stage, I don't know, he's probably still there, but right, we'll have to do like a Liverpool one for him soon. But anyway, until next time, you take care. The state of it, the absolute state of it. Ah, Jesus! Oh, look what it did! Shh, 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 shh. Nothing to see here at all. All is nothing to see here at all. I didn't get distracted. Who's asking? Yes. For a warbird, it's one of the finest warbirds ever released in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Considering you have the excellent work of Flying Iron, this thing, because of the extra features, because of the